You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back with another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Well, it is good to be back in Philadelphia. As you all saw, this past week, I was at Martha's Vineyard, Oak Bluffs specifically, and had a really fabulous time. It was a really relaxing escape from the typical, Philly madness. But I definitely enjoyed myself. Mr. Johnson, I had a really romantic time. Caught up with some friends, saw some people we hadn't seen in a long time. It kind of felt like a semi-reunion. Like there were some people from Penn that I hadn't seen since I graduated, which was, 11 years ago. People are married, engaged, all types of surprises and just seeing what people have done with their lives. And I mean, if they're at the Vineyard, they must be doing some big things. So it was just great to just see some familiar faces that I haven't seen in a long time. Caught up with some people in Philadelphia that I did bump into that I was happy to bump into. Some people I was like, hi, see you in Philly. Because I wasn't really trying to be, all in the, just, how it goes. People get chatty and you get a lot of that where you bump into people and they're like, oh, what you getting into? And they don't really have anything really going on much, but they want to see what you're getting into so they can just kind of latch on. And it was a lot of those vibes with some folks there. But the people I did want to see and that I did enjoy, I definitely had a good time. There were some fun Philly reunions with people that I actually see every summer in addition to seeing in person in the city. So that was kind of cool. Like it was a lot of that going on. And this was happening, of course, during the week of the NABJ convention, which we will get into in depth about, the results of that election and some stuff that went down. As you all probably have seen if you follow me on social, you know that I have already shared a formal statement about my thoughts. But I, of course, said I will share more here compared to putting all of my, uncensored thoughts on my social. So that's why this podcast matters. But no, Oak Bluffs was great. There was a lot of great restaurants that we went to. Lots of cookouts. I mean, this was a full-fledged week. Like it felt like a vacation. I can't even describe it. Like there's times we go on quick little trips and it's like a little escape and it's, it's cute and it does what it needs to do. But this really felt like a full-fledged vacation. Like I really got into it. Like got into all of the socials, the parties, the just lounging, beach. And I'm not really a beach person, but I was a beach person this time. Like I really enjoyed getting some fresh air. I did a lot of walking, which I was like, why am I walking a lot here? I knew why. Because this might have been, I just think Martha's Vineyard in general, but I think areas like this, right? It's super safe. Like safe in a way where there was somebody, for example, at the beach who has some New Balances, like a fresh pair. Like they probably bought these, like they were clean. They probably bought these like to go to this trip. And they left them there at the beach, like just there. And Mr. Johnson and I had to be on the beach for about 2.5 hours. And we saw the shoes. And I remember like when we was coming over, we were like, oh, we should stop. We should put something. We should, put our tent and everything, our chairs or whatever nearby. And I was like, whoever that person is, they not worried. But, being thoughtful, like, these people had their shoes there. They probably marking their territory. Well, come to find out the person just left the shoes there like for a period of time. So I want to say 2.5 hours passed and they might have had them longer there. They came back and they came back to get their shoes. And they were just like relieved. They were like, oh, wow, they just where I left them. And it was like, if this was other places, them shoes would have been got. So it's just the level of, I don't know, safety. Like it just, everything felt very secure. Everything was just clean. It's like you could walk long distances, even at night. I mean, we didn't do all that at night, but just in the day, just everything was just so chill. And we were on what is called island time, beach time, where it's almost like time is like you determine time really by the sun setting and everything. Like there were times where I didn't even look at my watch, like unless we had reservations, so we would look then. But it was like the days were just felt longer. The trip just felt really extended. It was a real full relaxation. So it came at the right time because, as you all know, these next couple of weeks as we get into September, things are ramping up. So it was just really good to get some relaxation, some good rest, just some good peace and comfort. It really felt good to just kind of be out of the typical grind, for a little bit. And it's nice to unwind. I'm not some people where, I'm not like a chronic vacationer where every single week or every other month I'm on a flight. I like to travel and, do business work, but it's really good. Like you can really soak up the relaxation and the sheer joy of getting that escape, getting that time away. And I got to pop out my summer fashions. There's some pieces that these sets I had, these matching sets. I have been waiting to wear some of these pieces for weeks. Like there's pieces I've ordered. Like I'm one of those type of shoppers where I'll get something in March and go, you know what? This is cute for March. I'm gonna wear this and I'm gonna say this for the summer. This is a nice summer set. This is something that was on sale. This is something last season. And I'll just, just I won't say the word hoard, but I will keep some things when I'm ready. And a lot of these fits, I had been ready to wear them in June. I was ready to pop out and wear them during Memorial, Day, weekend. I was ready to wear them during 4th of July. And I was like, no, 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 hold that, hold that. I got to have my fits for the Vineyard. So that is, those fits came, okay, all of them. And they're from American Eagle. I know everybody feeling some type of way, including myself, about the whole Sydney Sweeney thing. But, that will pass. That this is look, I'll give some grace to a clothing line that has been doing it well and reasonable in prices and everything else for over a decade. Let me think. Like I am 33. My goodness. I've been wearing American Eagle for like 20 years. I've been wearing American Eagle for about 20 years. I think I like all of my years. So, this little Sydney Sweeney thing, I'm just child, sell these jeans, let her have a little moment, and let's not do this again. Okay, that's where I'm at with it. But outside of that craziness, the summer line they got right now is pretty fly. And all of my fits came from there. I was just getting different pieces. There were some old summer pieces that were on sale, and I could never get them in my previous, when I was a little bit heavier. I couldn't ever get some of those fits. They would run out of my size. And I was thinking about that because of what Cardi B she said something about something she was selling about the 3Xs selling. It was a little fat phobic, but she was saying something about like how the 3Xs sold out really fast. And I think a lot of clothing lines, some clothing lines, I think American Eagle does it a little bit better, but they will not have certain bigger sizes. They will have more inventory on smalls and mediums or larges. But then when they get a little bit, when they get past XL, those sizes become, much smaller. And so I used to wear certain things, depending on the fit. I would wear certain shirts or something in 2X, or I would do a XL but tall because I am tall. But it would be that. But now there are certain fits because of I've gotten smaller that there are now available. Like I can wear certain styles. I'm like, oh wow, there's more available compared to to a year or so ago. It would be like I would have to jump on certain sizes to get it. And I will give American Eagle props for having the fact that they even have a variety of sizes at different fits, different heights. Like it's a very inclusive, despite this Sydney Sweeney shit, very inclusive line. Like everybody can wear the stripes. Everybody can wear the big, loud pink colors. There's a size that fits various demographics, genders. A lot of their stuff is really asexual, to be honest. A lot of their clothes, you can, I've bumped into some folks that are non-binary or queer women that will have on the same fit I have on and look just as good. Like they just have, they have a flyness to them that works. So got to wear those fits, all of the clothes, I think every outfit I had, with the exception of a couple of Martha's Vineyard swag, like of course the Alpha Martha's Vineyard sweater did not come from American Eagle, but everything else for the most part was American Eagle. But yeah, I was good. I got a cute little tan. I was out there. That's how y'all know I really went to the beach this time. Because normally I'm like in and out. But I was like, I'm gonna enjoy it, get some vitamin D, get all the D's, It's just it was good. So yeah, I mean, it was a great trip. Some great food. Restaurants I went to that this time around, we didn't do any spin the block. We did not spin the block on any restaurant. There was one restaurant I was going to, and then we went somewhere else. But we did not spin the block. We went to all new restaurants this time that were on the list in the past. Some restaurants we couldn't go to because we had other restaurants on our list. Some restaurants we were like, we'll get to that next time because we want to prioritize some things. But this time around, we went to a lot of really good restaurants. Shout out to the spots. And we didn't just go, we just did not stay in Oak Bluffs, which is the very black side of Martha's Vineyard. Like the first 2 to 3 weeks of August, a lot of black people come out. A lot of people come to the Martha's Vineyard, African American Film Festival. I do not go. So just put this there again, because a lot of people always, like when I was there, they thought I was just there for the film festival. I did not go for the film festival. I went for the actual experience, like to actually vacation. There's a lot of fun things going on. But I like to go during that time because a lot of black people are there. So it just kind of hits all the things. It's almost like if a black person decides to go to DC during Howard's homecoming, they're not necessarily, well, DC is a very black city, or at least it still is a chocolate city for now. I've heard that the gentrification over there is getting wild in DC compared to, where we were, in Philly. But it can be very telling for so many reasons. But yeah, it's it's good to go and see black people just in sheer joy, just to see it was just so beautiful to see black kids just out playing. Like I don't even think I saw police. Like there was probably like a cop or so, but it was just like the police presence was not heavy. Like kids were just running down the street, having fun, just being kids, black families, just people just enjoying themselves. And for just that experience alone, like it might not feel like a for some folks that are not melanated, you might just say, okay, that's just, I don't get it. But for myself to just go and be around a bunch of just accomplished black folks just doing their thing, vacationing with their family, just having a fun time, that just felt really good. And so that's what makes it a great time of year. And also, yeah, the film festival has celebrities. So there was a lot of famous people come out, a lot of elected officials have fundraisers, and like just the energy. So people that were there, that I spotted. Some people I took pictures with, some people I just saw in passing and just, kept it moving. So I saw Jasmine Crockett, as you all saw, and we'll talk a lot about what's going on in Texas, because a lot of Texas, state legislators and folks, they done ditched Texas and, trying to fight against that gerrymandering that's going on over there. But she was there in town. Wes Moore was there, but I did not meet Wes Moore. So chasing Wes is a continual thing. Eventually I will see my beloved frat brother, governor of Maryland, big deal, big damn deal guy, person who I wish would run for president, but at this state of the United States, it would be okay if he doesn't. But saw Jasmine Crockett, Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union were out in the Vineyard. Saw them in passing, but did not stop them, did not do all that. Saw the Queen, Victoria Butler, who's the master, mixer, blender for Uncle Nearest whiskey. Fawn, of course, Weaver, and the whole Uncle Nearest family, which I've loved them for years and I always see them. Bumped into them, got a picture of Victoria. She's doing fabulous. They're keeping themselves up. There's a lot of chatter about them in the press. But when you are the big whiskey, when you're a black business doing it as big as Uncle Nearest is. There's always going to be haters. There's always going to be some chatter, but they're doing their thing nonetheless. Um, I saw Keith David, who is the actor, the passed on Greenleaf, but he's a legend. I mean, he was a voice actor on Gargoyles. He's like in everything. Like you definitely see him. He is like old school. Um, okay, so for Disney fans, he is the voice of the villain who does voodoo in The Princess and the Frog. The villain in The Princess and the Frog, he is that character. He's the voice actor. He does a lot of voice acting for a lot of popular animated films and shows and TV shows. Like he's a great voice actor. He has a very like when you hear his voice, you automatically know. But he's also a good actor. Like he's been in a lot of movies, a lot of shows. I'm thinking of Greenleaf that comes to mind. But he is great. He is I'm gonna tell you some of his work because I just like this is somebody like I saw him so many times. Keith David, he is just a legendary actor. Um, so some of the things he's done. So of course, The Princess and the Frog, Greenleaf, Gargoyles, which he's the voice actor of. Coraline, he was the voice actor for that. Um, he's been on Blackish. He's been on Fresh Off the Boat. He's been on MacGyver. His career is long. He's been in a lot of stuff. Clockers, Requiem for a Dream, Dead Presidents. There's something about Mary, like American Fiction. The guy has a lot of credits. You definitely, if you Google him, you definitely recognize him. Like, oh, him, I know him. So yeah, Keith David, he was there at the Vineyard. Um, Dave Chappelle was there, did not see him, did not stop to see him, didn't want to see him. Yeah, a definite no for me. Who else okay, so people said they saw Tyler the Creator out there. I did not see him, but there was speculation that he was at Circuit Avenue, which is a very interesting spot. You know, this might be a stretch, but for people who've been to Martha's Vineyard, especially Oak Bluffs, there is like a reminiscence of New Orleans without all the crazy drunkenness of New Orleans. But there's a New Orleans tinge to it, to the feel of Oak Bluff in Martha's Vineyard. Just, there is like a New Orleans sense there, I feel. But yeah, those are some of the major people. Michelle Obama, forever First Lady Michelle Obama, and her brother did a live podcast recording of their show. Tickets were like $200 for it though. And they were sold out by the time I could even consider doing it. But I was like, listen, I mean, it is the Obamas, but they did a live podcast recording. I went past Union Chapel, which is a historic Black church that is in Oak Bluffs, Union Chapel. I walked past. There's a lot of events and other things that take place there outside of like actual sermons and things of that nature. But yeah, restaurants we went to. I didn't want to forget that. Garde East, a really good seafood restaurant. It's in Tisbury, West Tisbury, which is not in that's near Eggerstown, Vineyard Haven area. Not at Oak Bluffs. We also went to some other great restaurants. There was a Bangkok Thai, which is a Taiwanese restaurant that was in Oak Bluffs. That was good. Very, very good. It was some very good Thai. I was surprised how good it was. Sweet Life Cafe, we went there. Oh my goodness, Sweet Life Cafe. That was the first restaurant we went to, and that was last Monday. That blew me out the water. I was not expecting the food to be that good, but woof. New American cuisine. Then we went to Red Cat Kitchen the next day, another good spot. We were going to circle back to Jimmy C's Pan Pasta, which we went to last year, but then we ended up getting to cookout. My barber had a cookout. You know, the Venus spot. He had a really good old cookout, and woo. See, I love a good Black cookout. I mean, when the hot dogs, there's a certain type of char on the hot dogs that just is doing things. And I've heard all about like it was so interesting. Like during the time I was at the Vineyard and we was eating sausage and having the cookout of food. I don't know if you all have noticed an uptick in the past like a week or so. All this talk about processed food, talk about fries. Eating French fries can like heighten your risk for diabetes, type 2 diabetes. Processed foods are like just the worst. It's just all of this stuff. I'm like, why are you? Why am I getting this right now? Why are you? I'm sitting up there eating the hot dog like. And I said, you know what? I've been eating hot dogs for over 30 years. Okay, not that I ever overdo it at all. Like I don't eat hot dogs like every day or even every month. Like I have had months without hot dogs. I feel like I eat the most hot dogs maybe during Juneteenth, 4th of July, a cookout in August, random cookouts, Labor Day maybe, and that's probably it. That's probably it. Couple hot dogs won't hurt me. I think everything what we say, moderation. Everything should be done in moderation. So it does not hurt to eat a hot dog, right? Now this whole thing about fries, eating fries, apparently fries can heighten type 2 diabetes by like a significant amount. Like apparently fries are like god awful. But you know, how much fries are we talking? Are we talking supersize or just, like a little handful, nice little handful, I realize that I don't need too much fries to get my entire life. Like I just need some to, do the fix. So again, all of this talk right where I'm at the vineyard, and I'm like looking, I'm like, oh goodness. Even ice cream, there's some ice cream, but like, listen, you can have these things in moderation. You can't over obsess. And now it's got me thinking about my ice cream, drawer. But listen, I don't eat the whole thing in one setting. I might have a little couple of little, midnight little snack. But like moderation. That's what I'm telling myself. Okay, moderation is key. Okay, everything should be done in moderation. But yeah, the last restaurant we went to, which a lot of y'all was messaging me about, was a restaurant called Lambert's Cove. That's what it was called. It was called Lambert's Cove, which is in West Tisbury, new American restaurant. It was definitely a fabulous night. I had duck. Mr. Johnson had short rib, which he was waiting. Like he had this whole thing about like red meat. Like he was like holding off on, not eating heavy like at the beginning of the trip. I had, what did I eat? I had everything under the sun. I had lamb, I had duck, I had pork, I had, of course, chicken. Um, but yeah, I ate every type of animal that you can think of that could be grilled or sauteed this entire week. Listen, I got my best life. And I also had ice cream. That was the whole Mad Martha's versus the other spot. And I did not, you know, Mad Martha's is like it's like the Ben and Jerry's of Martha's Vineyard. Like Mad Martha's is like their Ben and Jerry's. It's everywhere. Everyone likes it. It's the thing. But I did not have it this time. I actually tried what I think like it's like the ultimate Pats and Geno's. Like everyone's comparing which one is what's the real competition. And for me, I was at first a little indecisive about where I want to go, but I was like, what is the choice? But there is like a comparison, like a competition, like a Pats and Geno's. Even though I don't want to make that comparison because both Pats and Geno's is not the correct answer. To be clear, Pats and Geno's, like if you were in Philly, the answer is neither. But just for the sake of comparison, I was trying out different spots. But there is a rivalry between Mad Martha's, and this other ice cream spot that is called Carousel. And they've been out since 2000. So this is their 25th anniversary. They have an ice cream factory. So their ice cream spot is right across the street from Mad Martha's. People debate, and this is on Circuit Avenue. And there's multiple Mad Martha's all across the vineyard. But people make the comparison like which one, right? I was told Carousel, other folks say Mad Martha's, but the real folks that live in the neighborhood say Carousel, and Carousel it is. And I will say, I thought their ice cream was better. I think their flavors are a lot more unique compared to Mad Martha's. Mad Martha's is very, I won't say basic. I mean, good quality ice cream. I mean, to be honest, both of these spots would rival anything we got going on in Philly. Um, outside of, maybe Reckless. It's in the same vein as Reckless, a lot better quality, but Reckless is good. I'm thinking, what it kind of reminds me of is the ice cream spot, Franklin's ice cream parlor that's right there in Old City. It kind of has that Franklin's energy. It's in that kind of territory of ice cream, like homemade, made at, they got their own, creamery, ingredients, all that stuff. It has that type of feel. It's more in that Franklin's fountain vibe more so than a Ben and Jerry's super commercial. Yeah, this is what we're talking about. This is like high quality ice cream on both ends. But I think Carousel fits that mode more. Matt Martha's is kind of more commercial esque, um, very trendy, like Jenny's, except not as many exotic flavors. So just saying that. But yeah, I mean, the restaurants was good. The beach was great. We went to different beaches. We went to Inkwell, of course, which is the historic black beach that is over there in Oak Bluffs. But we also went to like Island Queen, which is a really low key beach. We went to Methuselah. I think it's called Methuselah, Maminsua, something like that. It was that kind of name. Um, and then we went to it's another beach went out to, but we're just beach hopping all through Inkwell. We did Methuselah. We did, and then Island Queen. I think those were right. But we went to different beaches and like different. Let me say this: what makes these beaches very different is arguably the vibes. Like Inkwell is very, very black. Depending on what side of the beach you're on, very much family oriented, very hang out, very, Greek life, freak Nick at certain times of the day, depending on what you're going for. That is the beach to be seen. You're gonna catch people outside. Um, I would say Bethesda, Mensima Beach. I'm just mispronouncing this. Um, but that beach is more of these are where the regulars go to get away from the touristiness. It's like very like diverse. Like there's white folks out there, there's black folks, but it's a little bit more older. And they're that crowd that goes to that beach, they know the vineyard. Like, and they know where to go and they chilling. Like it's not everybody's there, everybody got their element, everybody's, cool. It's not too much flash. And then Island Queen, that beach, I don't want to say it's kind of maybe my favorite, but that's more family oriented. That beach is real chill, lots of kids, but well behaved kids, lots of families, young people, diverse. Like there's white folks, there were some Latino people out there. It is a lot more, more like what I would say the typical commercial beach, but definitely the waves are crushing. Little, you better know, you gotta be familiar. If you don't know how to swim, don't go to that beach. And I didn't really get in the water. And not be, no, well, number one, like I said about beaches, I think beaches are dirty. Still believe that. These beaches were a lot cleaner. I will say that. So I didn't mind being in the sand, but we're in a different administration, okay? EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, isn't necessarily as funded and stocked like it used to be. So I don't know what's in that water. You gotta remember, I grew up in Houston, so Galveston Beach, that's Galveston Beach, baby. It don't nothing to compare. But beaches like that, it get a little wild. And I done been to some great beaches in Peru, and I was in Tel Aviv. I've been to some beaches around the world, Ghana. The slave castles. I've been out to some beaches, so I'm a little biased on my comparisons. But child, that water out there is nothing to play with. So I didn't do too much. I didn't swim. And also I just thought about, I'm still a little sad about, the passing of Malcolm Jamal Warner and just about how he was at the beach and just little of that. And I'm not saying I was fully triggered, but a little bit of that is like, you know, I'm looking at the water, but I'm not getting into it. And I do know how to swim. Like I like a good pool. I like a good jacuzzi, but the beach, in that water. Mm, y'all can have it. Plus, I would be remiss if I did not mention this. This is the 50th anniversary of Jaws. And that Jaws took place over there in Martha's Vineyard, around there. And Steven Spielberg, they filmed Jaws. Like, that is the whole history. This is the 50th anniversary of Jaws. And I just thought to myself, I don't want to be at any beach where Jaws took place, or near any beach where Jaws. And I know it's fictional. It was in Martha's Vineyard, and it was actually at the Joseph Sylvia State Beach on Martha's Vineyard. So, which is where I think that was the other beach I was thinking of. We was over there, and that's Amity Island is what it was called. It was a fictional town of Amity Island, but it was the Joseph Sylvia State Beach, and we was over there. And there is Menimsha. Menimsha is the beach. Okay, that's what it's called. Menimsha was the beach that I was talking about earlier. I cannot remember how to pronounce that for the life of me. Menimsha is that beach. But the one where they did Jaws at is at Joseph Sylvia State Beach. We was over there. Child, let me tell you something. That's also why I did not want to dip my feet. I kept trying to remind myself there was another reason. Jaws was, and again, I know this is fictional, but I don't play. You know what I'm saying? I am still black. Listen, going out there, listen, people got money, insurance, that's great, but I'm still black. And I'm not about to play with no sharks. We not doing all that. 50 years of Jaws, the 50th anniversary. The irony, what would be the case that shark, which again was fictional, might just decide to pop out for the 50th anniversary, just say, haha, 50 years later, just, listen, no, absolutely not. And I know Shark Week and Shark Season, all that. No, I'm not playing. I will not be. Okay. So, yeah, I digress. But it was a lot. But it was great to be outside. Definitely got turned up. Definitely had lots of memories. Backdoor donuts. Because y'all kept asking me about that. Incredible donuts. Donuts are cute, whatever. I'm not a, listen, again, for all of my folks from H-Town, from Houston, Shipley's Donuts are the best donuts I've ever had in my life. Kolaches, do anybody know what a kolache is? It's okay. Philadelphia, we need to bring kolaches here, okay? Kolaches, for those who do not know what a kolache is, it is a savory, it could be savory or a sweet, powdery, soft, like bun, but inside of it is stuffed with, bacon and cheese. Might be eggs and cheese and bacon. It's stuffed with whatever type of meat filling. And it is served in a very rounded pastry type way, but it is good. And sometimes you can get a nice powdery one. It is breakfast. It's breakfast in your hand. I know a lot of people at restaurants are using the word handhelds. I don't like that term. When I was a food editor at Eater, there were words that we could not say in any of our write-ups or reviews or any type of there was a style guide at Eater. I don't know if I can I guess I can, I suppose. It's not anything bad, but there's certain words that we could not say for various reasons, cultural reasons, health conscious reasons, accuracy reasons, not using very confusing, trendy words that are just not useful. So handhelds was one of the words we could not use. We could not use handhelds. We could not say delectable. I remember we could not use the word delectable. And so when I was editing writers, a lot of times when they wanted to describe restaurants they went to, they would use the word delectable, and I would have to take that word out. Or I gave them the style guide, but it was a word we could not say delectable. We could not say crave or any types of words that would fuel eating things. We couldn't say things that would trigger eating disorder type of words, or indulge and treat yourself, reward yourself, worth the things like that, those types of words. It was very meantful not to say terms like that. And it also made me rethink how I talk about food in general. And also just so handhelds was one of those words. Like we couldn't say handhelds, and that wasn't because of a health conscious word. It's just like just corny, like cheesy words. Like don't use. Like yeah, like or even certain terms like no libs, like for locations, like that's Northern Liberties. Like just using like avoiding these types of like trendy jargon words, glitzies to describe hot dogs. I never would use the word glitzy. That sounds really nasty. That sounds really weird. I wouldn't say that. But like, again, they were very mindful on like the simpler, more thoughtful language you use is the best. But nonetheless, people say handhelds. And handhelds was a way to describe food that you can eat with your hands, which is very corny. Like sandwiches, hamburgers, hot dogs. So if you look on a menu, if you look at certain bar menus, they'll say handhelds, entrees, what is other ones? Like appetizers. They're like, but they'll put the word handhelds, and that will be all the like sandwiches, burgers on the menu, and then entrees will be all the dishes that were on an actual plate. If you didn't know that, you learned something new. That's what that means. Kolache, to use an inappropriate term, is for me a breakfast handheld. Like if you wanted to carry your breakfast in one bite, a kolache encompasses that, like a really good one. So Shipley's Donuts would make kolaches and it would be like that. But outside of that, Backdoor Donuts, their donuts is probably the best donuts I've had on the East Coast. I like Federal Donuts. Let me just say that. I do like Federal Donuts. But Backdoor Donuts might be the best donuts I've had on the East Coast. Okay? They are creative with their flavors. They know their audience. They make those babies fresh. I don't know what kind of listen. I like to be mindful about my words, but they're putting something in those donuts because I could fuck a whole box up. They had apple fritters, and I'm not even a fritter girl, but those fritters were phenomenal. Like there's just things. Ooh, they got candied bacon. Like they make this candy bacon, and I had that with one of their spice. Listen, I was getting my life. Okay, I ate my way through the Vineyard, and I will do it again next year. And also, y'all like my little summer house? Yes, I have a summer house. Mr. Johnson has a cute summer house that we have now that we rent every summer now. We have a person who, has this, and we got to, put down a big deposit. We lock it in. We now have a nice cute little summer cottage that we have. And it's not, before y'all start, it's not a big old mansion house that can fit tons of people. So all this, let me crash, let me come through. Listen. There might be an extension added to it next year, but let me just be clear that there's priority, okay? This is for the besties. I just don't let everybody all up in my spot, okay? So this would be like for like, lip brothers and the girls, and the girls know who they are. It's very close. This ain't for everybody. But I'm they're going to build an extension added to it. We do like the cottage. It's really beautiful. It's really small and cute and cuddly. It's got all the appliances, everything, fully decked out, fully furnished. And it was great for a whole week, and we're going to be back again next year. It's irking me, and it's certainly somebody who I'm really besties with, who had a lovely party about a week ago that I went to. They're going to know what I'm about to vent about. The Black Star Film Festival is in Philly, is from August 6th to the 9th next year. I most likely will not be able to go to any of the events because that is my Vineyard week. I don't know whose idea it was to throw it the same week. Like, what are we doing? But I guess maybe, for calendar purposes, because I was like, maybe I could. And I was like, no, I am going to miss. Now, the good news is that I might not miss their party. So my good friend who I'm talking about, they throw a party on Sunday, the closing reception. So mentally, I'm thinking, I can still make it to their party if they throw it again next year. If they throw it again, it was a really good, and they know who I'm talking about. You threw a really good party, to close up the Black Star Film Festival. Do it again because I definitely enjoyed myself, and you know it'll be lovely. And what I will probably do is book my flight on that Sunday leaving. I will come to Philly earlier so I could be able to make it to that party. Because that was a memory. That was a Black Star. And then maybe go to the after party after that, depending on how it plays out. So that might be what I might actually do. Because that was a vibe. So then maybe I won't, I may not go to the other parties throughout the festival. That's fine. But if I could go to that person's after party, which they have on the final day, which this will be it will be the same day, it will work out. I love how I use my podcast as a way to communicate my thoughts with my friends. And you all, even though you all are newsy, or as they say in Philly, newsy, you are interested in that too. But next year, yeah, I'm not changing my plan. I always do the first week of August. I'm not changing it. I like that because when you start getting deeper in a month of August, it makes it harder for you to recover. Because there's personal development, you training, if you teaching like I am your professor, you got a new, media schedule. Like everything comes back heavy after Labor Day. I need some time to recuperate. So, it is quite that time. So I'm happy I'm getting that together. But I am committed to coming back to the Vineyard. This is a tradition. This was my third year. This was both of our third year, actually. Ms. Johnson, this is our third year, consecutive year. 3 times was a charm. We're back there next year. More and more people are coming. Is it my influence? Is it that you are seeing a future for yourselves there? Listen, if you're going to be there, and I like you, and if I like you, I am always there the first week of August. It's a tradition at this point. You do it 3 times. At that point, it's a habit at that point. So, I'm coming back next year. I think a full week is perfect. Perfect. Like that was the right spot. Some people do 2 weeks. I mean, hats off to you. But I just needed one. I kept, each year, the first year I did it for 3 days. I want to say last year we did it for like 4 to 5 days. This year we did a full week. And that was the right amount of time. Everything, just the balance of that week. Like I hit the peak. Like I feel like by Saturday night we were like, yeah, like we felt fulfilled. I feel like that's a good trip, is when you can be able to say, okay, I don't feel bored. I'm not feeling anxious to go back home. I feel like every day had a purpose, a value, an enjoyment. Nothing felt rushed. There was enough time to really explore and do everything. It was enough time. And so I'm not going to change. I'm not going to switch it. Next year, Black Star, hopefully y'all come back to y'all senses and move it back up to like late July again. So I can do both. I had a routine. Last week of July, Black Star. First week of August, Martha's Vineyard. Second week, stitching things together, breathing, right? Then, you got the fall restaurant previews, Labor Day. There was a back to school, it was a schedule. They got to keep it, we got to keep the schedule moving. So that was that. Other news before we get into hot topics. I was on Pierce Morgan while I was at the Vineyard. Yes, I was in my lovely, beach house. That's why I looked the background was different for those who observed. The doll had to look good, I had the book on the shelf. I'm always going to bring copies of my book. I'm always going to have copies of The Case for Council Culture, because you never know. You're going to have that market in the background, because, baby, they asked me at the last minute, do I want to do this segment with Pierce to talk about what's going on with, Sydney Sweeney and the culture. And, I was like, I'm on vacation. I don't want to work on my vacation. So I say, but something just said, look, it was a perfect time. I had this nice little cute little midday, like little break in between the beach and dinner. And I just was like, yeah, it's a cute little segment, give me a quick little bag, do my thing. We get on this show, child. I go viral. I went viral. They were talking about all kind of things. It was like a pop culture. This was a pop culture episode. So we talking about Cynthia Erivo playing a black Jesus in Jesus Christ Superstar. We talked about the Sydney Sweeney ad controversy. We talked about this phenomenon of, which is really ridiculous. Apparently, men are throwing dildos on the court during women's basketball games. Like actual games. They're throwing dildos on the court. Like this has become a pattern, a concerning pattern. So that was talked about. So on the Sydney Sweeney, Pierce was on some other shit, but for those who have not seen the full segment, which you can in the link in my bio. So if you want to see the episode, it is in my link in bio. You can click in the link, you can watch the full episode. And yeah, it's a lot going on. But to put this in full context about what's the tea and what went down, we was talking about the Sydney Sweeney, ads or whatever, and Pierce is obsessed with trying to promote his book, Woke is Dead. Okay. Whatever, sir. I was on the show with a guy who is the leader of White Dudes for Kamala Harris. He's like the leader of that. And he's been a regular contributor on Piers Morgan since the whole Kamala Harris election period. And he has consistently stayed on as a regular on the show. Y'all know I'm an OG. I've been on Piers Morgan since 2023 when the show was beginning to start because he had just lost Good Morning Britain and he was launching this little idea. And he brought me on and I'm one of the original OGs of Piers Morgan Uncensored. I think I hold the record out of most of the folks. I am probably one of the most longest running contributors for that program. I don't know if that's a bragging, a point to brag, or what the hell. I don't know how to feel about that. But 2.5 years later, and I'm still on. Okay. I was on at the start of my book, and now we're entering another chapter very soon. Stay tuned on that. But we still going and still on. He can't get enough of me. Like this man, we have not gotten a chance to meet. I done ran my ass down to London to catch him in person. But eventually, we'll see each other. But the fact that it's I know it's problematic. He's problematic in his own right. But a lot of y'all appreciate what I said last week about why I go on that show. And, just talking to people at the Vineyard, we just talking about media, the culture of media, what's going on in the industry. We just need fighters. And I want to fight. I do. I say we fight, as Kamala Harris once said, declaring, her bid to run. I think this was like the first time she ran for president. She was saying, she says, I choose to fight, and I think that's what we need to do right now. There's a time for it. But anyway, this moron. So he makes this argument. He posted something before the show, signaling that he was over Beyonce, accusing Beyonce of cultural appropriation, and talking about there's a double standard for the left on where is the concerns about Beyonce and her wearing her blonde hair, whatever. So he tries to, because, I am someone who is an expert in cultural appropriation. I've written about it, and talked about it for over a decade. If those who know me from way, way back when I was at Huffington Post, I wrote a lot about cultural appropriation. I talked about Miley Cyrus when she was in her bangers era. If Jamarcus is listening, we talk about bangers all the time and how, despite her problematicness, if you was going to be problematic and support a problematic artist, bangers had some bangers on there. But, I can say that now 10 years later. But nonetheless, it was very problematic, though. But it was, if you was going to be with the riffraff, be with somebody who was bringing the funk. But I've written about it. I've written about that. Katy Perry, Justin Timberlake, of course. That was, that era. My goodness. But I've talked a lot about cultural appropriation throughout my career. And so, of course, Pierce tries to bait me in this way of just saying, admit it. Just, do you think that Beyonce's culturally appropriating, right now by this blonde hair Marilyn Monroe? And I'm sitting here and I'm just like, what? I said, no. I said, first of all, you don't know what cultural appropriation means. You don't know what woke means. You just take these words, you politicize them to fit your agenda. And at a certain point, I was just annoyed. And like, I try not to take this shit personal. Like, I try not to like, I try to be in the zone and just realize, of course, he's gonna say crazy shit. This is a show. Don't take it too seriously. But there are times I'm just like, it is so ridiculous that I can't help myself. And I've gotten better at certain places. Like certain places will trigger me. Like I will say, nope, not going. I'm not going to engage in this stupid, nonsensical argument debate. I gotta read. I just gotta, save your neurons, Ernest. The barbershop reminds me of that. Like I don't even waste my time. I don't even get into these arguments with them. And I don't try to have an elitist mindset of like, oh, they're all dumb. They don't know what they're talking about. I'm smarter than them. I'm not going to waste my time. It's not that. It's just that, well, it's not that they're dumb. I won't say that. But I will say these are stubborn people. That's the better word. They're stubborn. They're set in their ways. They're understanding about the world, gender, politics, all of this stuff. They're stubborn. They come from a different time, place of how they think, and they are stuck on that. And so there is no arguing with a person over, I would say, 45. I remember growing up that I was told just about men or about adults that when an adult hits a certain age, I think they say 40 or 45, like 44 or something. When they hit a certain age in their mid 40s, a lot of who they are is who they are, and it's not going to evolve or change. I mean, maybe some views on politics will change, stuff like that. Social issues might change. But a lot of who they are, their habits, their mannerisms, a lot of that type of behavior kind of sticks with them. So if they are chronically late and they just cannot for the life of them show up on time, and that's just who the fuck they are. If they don't get that fixed by 45, they're gonna that's just who they're gonna be. You're gonna have to either plan around them or tell them a earlier time so they can be on time. Like that's just who they are, And so there's just certain habits of certain folks that when they get a certain age, I have to remind myself that a lot of the industry and a lot of space I'm in, I'm with a lot of people that are old enough to be my parent or be a very auntie, uncle, kind of energy. And so these are people that you can speak reason, but it's coming out of one ear and coming out the other. A lot of them, their views are their views. They think they've lived on this earth for a long time, and so in many ways, these are habits that are hard to break, and that's just what it is. And so what I have done, and I think sometimes it agitates when I think about outside of Pierce Morgan show, but when I think about like other environments I'm in, like political spaces, barbershop talk, just different spaces. I recognize that when people try to start a conversation with me and I just recognize their viewpoint is not mine, I just don't engage. And because I'm known for debating and engaging, people will prick at me even harder because they want quote unquote dialogue. But do you want dialogue or do you want discourse? Because ooh, that's good. Do you want dialogue or do you want discourse? What do you want? Because I don't really dialogue with people that I don't feel like have a grounded sense of education. Discourse is different than that and whatnot. Like I feel like discourse is a situation where a person is trying to learn and I'm explaining something to you to get you to learn or to understand something. So if you're coming to me and you're ignorant as fuck, I want to do discourse with you. There's no dialogue because dialogue there's already, I believe, dialogue is a discussion where there's already some grounding rules and principles in place, and you can actually have a fair discussion, whatnot. Discourse, I feel like requires level of intellectual work that requires you to inform a person, course correct. And so there are people, I think that's the problem. I think that there are folks that are stubborn and ignorant as hell, and they want to have dialogue with me, but they're not my peer in thinking. We're not equals in our thinking. Like what they're believing and their beliefs are not the same as mine. We cannot have dialogue then. What you really want, honestly, is discourse. Do I have the emotional labor capacity to give you that? That's what I have to decide. And so when I go on Pierce Morgan and when I go on Tommy Lauren, I'm not having dialogue with these idiots. I'm having discourse. And it's incentivized because there is a financial incentive for me to do it. Do I have the withdrawal or the patience to do discourse with somebody for free. Very seldom. If you are a family member, if you're somebody that I'm close to and we're close friends or associates, sure. But it might vary in those cases. So, for example, 2 weeks ago when I did that Can You Say That event at the National Liberty Museum, that was discourse. Okay? Because that definitely was a dialogue. They thought we were having dialogue. Baby, that was discourse. And the discourse was discoursing for sure. And the check was definitely compensating for that discourse. But like, you just got to know. And I think it's so important nowadays to understand reading the room. Because when I think about what happened with Piers Morgan, when Piers Morgan brought that up, he was trying to bait. I don't think Piers is as stupid as he sounds. I don't think he is. I think he is a master instigator. He wants a show where people go at it. This is like YouTube Jerry Springer outside of people flashing each other. This is pretty much a Jerry Springer type of show. And you got to figure out who you are on that show. I am the expert. I am not the clown. I'm the expert. I'm the rational, reasonable person on that show, in my opinion. Some of the people that come on that show, like that guy Andrew, he is like a internet troll. He is there for shock. He's the shock jock. And then you have other people who are what I call the annoying contrarian, like Esther. Me and Esther, they always put me and Esther together. That's the Black British woman who got the conservative views. She's always playing to the right, and she's going to troll. She knows her role. And they always put me and Esther together. Every time it's like a tag team. We're on the opposite end. I always call her the British Candace Owens. I used to call her Candace Owens Jr., but I think I would call her the British Candace Owens. Because she carries some of them same ideas. She's funny. Esther is hilarious. But when I'm on that show, when he brought that up, I told him I had to clock him because I know what he was trying to do. He was not, when he said Marilyn Monroe, he was really trying to say, even though he knew it would be too bold and too ballsy to say it, but it was passive aggressive. He was trying to say, because Beyonce had the blonde hair and she wore the Levi jeans and outfit and she had the red lipstick on, he was trying to say, did I think that Beyonce was culturally appropriating from white people? That's what he really wanted to say. But he said Marilyn Monroe because it was in many ways, it was a euphemism. But he was really trying to replace white women with Marilyn Monroe. And let me just say, because I know how y'all get in y'all bag. Let's get this out the way real quick. Marilyn Monroe was not naturally blonde. I don't like to get too technical and scientific or very specific about some of this bullshit because it's giving too much energy. But I will just, for the record, let's get this clear. Marilyn Monroe was born with dark hair. She was not a natural blonde. Let's start there. Second of all, like I said on the show, Marilyn Monroe did not invent blonde. So what is Beyonce culturally appropriating, Piers? That was the way in which I wanted to check him, and he did not want to go. He just couldn't, because he knew what I was getting at, and he's like, oh, this is a smart motherfucker. That's why he always be talking me off. Sometimes if y'all notice the back and forth between us, it's like offline we are very respectful, cordial. There is none of that. But on the show, I can get to the business a little too fast where he wants to draw a little bit more to get reaction. And so he'll try to get me quiet or like cut me off because a lot of his theories and his bullshit is very much driven by folks who are entertaining bullshit. And a lot of the stuff that people are saying, you get me on there, slice, cut, it's getting chopped very fast. And so when I asked him, and when I said to him that it was not cultural appropriation, because for those who don't know what cultural appropriation is, let me just define it. It is when a dominant culture or a dominant group of people, this is whoever this group is, and I don't say white, mostly white people are the dominant class. But if we're talking a global scale, it is when a dominant group, and this is not just related to race. That's why I don't say white people, because I'll get to why, because we talk about the cultural appropriation of queer culture, ballroom culture, right? Like, there's other cultures that can be appropriated, religions, faiths. It's not just related to racial things. But it's when the dominant group, the dominant culture, okay, or the population of people, whatever, um, adopts cultural rituals from a marginalized or um underrepresented slash minority um group of people, and they adopt their cultures in a way that they do not acknowledge it. They do not. They do it in such a way that they appropriate. They adopt these customs and these traditions, and they pretty much claim it as their own, or give off the impression that it is, something of theirs, almost like plagiarism. They don't acknowledge or properly attribute said thing to that culture, but they take it as their own, make it mainstream, and adopt it as their own. Basically, Christopher Columbus thing. Like Christopher Columbus pretty much is a good example of cultural appropriation, but I mean, not even just cultural appropriation, but colonization, right? But it's in that same vein, right? Like Christopher Columbus came to the Americas, stole land, killed people from indigenous people's land, claimed it, said he discovered it, right? And then acted like it was America. The way in which he took over this land was, of his doing. He's this explorer. Look at me, and that's that, right? So that would be cultural appropriation without the, you know, killing of people and all that, right? So when we saw Katy Perry take cornrows and a grill and then do a music video and adopt to it and make a look out of it and things and act like it's a cool trend. And when you see the Kardashians, a lot of stuff that the Kardashians do, they take on these trends and it's aesthetic. That feeds into the ideas of cultural appropriation, because a lot of times Kim, or at least in the beginning, Kim would never, when media outlets would cite Kim Kardashian as being, the inventor of this new trend and these looks. I'm like, this is stuff that Black women has been doing. This is coming from actual Black culture and heritage. Like Black people invented these styles, these looks, these patterns, the certain jargon and swagger. Iggy Azalea, textbook example, cultural appropriation. Like her whole Atlanta, her fake Black scent that she had with the Atlanta accent. How you do that? This woman is from Australia. Okay, her whole rap accent, her whole look, all that's cultural appropriation, right? She now, to a certain extent, people say, well, where does cultural appreciation comes in, right? Is if you're very clear in acknowledging the culture. So, like, for example, Bruno Mars. I don't think Bruno Mars culturally appropriates. I think Bruno Mars is very clear and consistent. He acknowledges Black art in the shaping of his musical musings. He is of color, but he's not like Black. I mean, that everyone's always trying to figure out like what's his identity. He's a mixture of various different cultural. He is the full multicultural identity, for if there was ever a case to be made. But he acknowledges the role that Black artists play in inspiring his music, his sound, his looks. He embraces them in his work. He brings Black artists. He collaborates with Black artists. He promotes them. He acknowledges them. He cites them in his music. He gives them credit on songwriting and production. Like, he's fully immersed in the culture in a way that shows his appreciation, his acknowledgement, and it's very clear that Bruno is not trying to act like he brought this swag or he invented, or he wouldn't even give people the impression that he is doing something different, because he isn't really much so. His whole aesthetic is a love letter to that, to soul music and to Black art and Black culture. I think about a good example too from a white perspective is Madonna with Vogue. Madonna, loved ballroom. She brought the legendary ballroom greats, right, like Ninja and all of them, to be a part of that music video. Actually brought Black queer ballroom performers, brought people in the scene in the video, learned their dances, danced with them, like celebrated them, and really helped put Vogue on a different level, but never let them be not a part of that history and that conversation. To this day, Madonna embraces the queer community and the ballroom scene, and it continues to show that love and her allyship and her accomplishment with that community. So it's different. God, and I would say even Gaga does that. Madonna does it, and I would say Gaga does it as well. So that's appreciation. Appropriation is very different. And so I'm sitting here listening to him talk about, did Beyonce appropriate? What is Beyonce appropriating? Marilyn Monroe did not invent blonde hair. White people are the dominant culture. So if anything, Beyonce would be doing more assimilation than she would be actually doing cultural appropriation. But see, people want to use these words, throw these words back at people who use them to act like they're doing a gotcha moment. And the gotcha didn't get. So loved how y'all showed love and showed up and supported, my work and the work that and me, doing my thing. It's always a pleasure. I'm just honored and humbled by the amount of love and support that, you all have shown this experience and this journey. And there's more to come, of course. So I appreciate y'all for that. Yeah, outside of that, again, shout out to you all for showing love. Registrations have been doing well for the Emerging Media Diversity Convention. Registrations opened up last week. As always, you can RSVP, the link in the bio. I did my big plug about it. And a lot of people have been registering since the convention. Since NABJ's convention, which we did that. We was petty. We did our big one. More on that later in the show. But we did our big one. The support has been massive. I am excited that all 35 of our moderators and panelists are confirmed. We got a big keynote speaker that we're going to announce very, very, very soon. We're going to do a big, massive rollout of all of our moderators and our panelists and folks. So for those who just, first of all, the rates are ridiculous. Like $50 for students, $100 for media professionals under 40. Like, you all are getting your tickets. You all are spreading the word. I just love you all. Thank you all so much. And spread the word. Like, seriously, anybody can come. We do not discriminate. This is not just for Black folks. If you of color, if you're Latino, you're Asian, you're white, and you know how to act, come through, in all intersections, of course. We take everybody. And we're at CCP, so it is accessible for those people who might need, who has different needs. Very accessible on that front. We're going to be having breakfast and lunch and mixers and events and all of the different types of dietary restrictions. The food that we provide will have most of that. There's stuff for vegans and people who are gluten-free, all of the things. This is a very accessible, inclusive event. And I am excited that you all are enthusiastic as we are. Lots of press is rolling out. I cannot wait for you all to find out who's going to be moderating and showing up. We got some names. There's some people that you're going to be like, of course. And there's going to be like, wow, they're coming. This person is speaking. I didn't even know. Like I said, if anybody who is on the fence trying to wait it out, you can try as long as tickets are available. But once we drop who's going to be here, you're going to want to be here. So just going to tell you that link is in the bio. If you're following me on Twitter or Instagram, or as always, the PABJ.org. If you want to go learn more about the convention, buy a ticket, give it to a friend, let a friend get a ticket, whatever the case is, the link is in the bio. The PABJ.org is the website. If you want to go to the website, it's all there. So check that out. And then I got one big surprise, because there are several surprises I'm going to be announcing. There are some big shakeups in a good way. But one big announcement I'm finally happy to share is that I am a part of the 2025 GLAAD Black Queer Creative Summit that is going to be in Hollywood in September. From September 18th to the 21st, I will be in LA for this incredible experience. They're bringing Black queer journalists, media creators, content producers, all of the various Black queer media voices were coming together in LA to organize, mobilize, network, fellowship, educate, and motivate. This is long overdue. But it's time. It's a lot of us out here. You see us all on Instagram. You see us on TikTok, Snapchat, for those who are still on there, Facebook, all of us. It is time for us specifically to come together. Black queer content creators. We are out here doing this work. And I'm in that space. Even though I'm a journalist, I also do content creation. So I'm on the internet. I'm seeing what people are doing. I'm seeing the work that people are bringing to the table. This is epic. And I need people, to just really pay attention to what's about to happen that weekend, because we have not all come together like this in this way. And shout out to Glad for bringing us together. This is a great event. To be invited, to be brought into this gathering. It's going to be over 50 of us all across the country. I just have to just say, some of your faves are going to be there. That's been on the internet, but we're coming together, and it's time for us to really talk about it. Like, talk about the business. It's giving, reunion show. I'm not without the drama. There might be a little bit of drama, but it's like, we're all coming together. The girls are coming together, and we're going to really talk about this business and really get some shit done. It's time to unionize. Maybe not a union, but there's got to be, this is just long overdue. And so I'm excited to be a part of this. It's going to be fun. And then catch up with some of my friends in LA. So if you're in LA, if you live in LA, go be around there. I'm going to be there for some days. And I'm not going to be Hollywood on y'all like I am at the Grammys. Because the Grammys be, baby, the Grammys be, listen, okay? Catch me as I go. Houdini, as my girl Dua Lipa once said. But there's people that I'm always going to see. My USC buddy, my Philly friend, one of my good besties in LA, Terrell Green. He is an ex-husband of a certain, state representative, Malcolm Kenyatta. But he's more than just the ex, as you all know. That's my good friend. So we're going to catch up and kiki. He get to see me twice this year, which I love. Every time we get together, it's a hoot. We be sipping tea, whether we at the Biltmont Hotel. We just doing it. So we definitely going to get together and really hang out, try to see each other in LA, catch up with some other friends, who's ever still out there. When I went last time, it was recovering. LA was recovering from the fires. But it seemed like that, everything is slowly building itself back over there. So to come back to LA twice in 1 year, unheard of, okay? Twice in 1 year. So I'm excited to come to this summit. It's going to be fun. Really excited about LA, okay? So I'll be down there, y'all, that Thursday the 18th till Sunday. I'm flying out Sunday, but I'll be there coming in on Thursday. Be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and leaving Sunday. And so it's going to be a good old time. And it'll just be myself. But I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, that's what I've been up to, and let's get into these hot topics. So, Trump. As always, this man is doing everything but addressing Epstein. For those who have been, following this ongoing saga. But it just seems like his team is not on the same memo. J.D. Vance made an appearance on Fox News talking about full transparency in this Jeffrey Epstein case. It's not helping, it's not helping the mega, because mega is obsessed with these Epstein files. And I love teasing them about it, because to me, I don't give a fuck. I really, to be real with y'all, I don't really give a fuck about this Epstein shit. It does not, the man's dead. His homegirl is behind bars. We will never know, we're probably never going to know the full extent. We will have our own suspicions. It will always be chatter amongst us. We do have our own thoughts about what could have been, should have, could have been. But at this point, given that this man is back in the White House, and given the Supreme Court being cowardly and not really stopping him when it could have, when it came to holding him accountable for criminal behavior, Trump is, this is, But because Mega is so obsessed with conspiracy theories, they're so obsessed with this type of banter, of course we're going to find ourselves in a situation where this continues to linger. But J.D. Vance did not help himself. He, according to Daily Beast, they said the vice president mused about Epstein's Democratic friends, wondering what they did, quote unquote, what they did with him. Well, here's the thing, Vice President Vance. if you're wondering what Epstein did with his Democratic friends, what did he do with his Republican friends? And also, might add that Donald Trump was very much so a Democrat back then. And he was also chilling with those Democratic friends. Like him and the Clintons were besties. Well, I don't want to say besties, but they were cool. So, you know, I don't necessarily, I mean, again, everything matters in context. You got to have the historical context before what you say. Because everybody got to remember the Trump that we see now is not the Trump at that time. Now, let me say this because I know some of y'all about to get in my ass and say, well, whoa, what about the Central Park Five, or as I like to call them, as we should call them, exonerated five. I get that. He put that ad out. And, he did that. He did put out the ad, in the New York Times, putting a bounty hunt on those innocent black men. Absolutely wrong, right? And of course, his father, Fred Trump, and him had the lawsuit from from civil rights, civil rights violations. So, for housing discrimination, that was a real thing. The federal government came after them, the Department of Justice. So they did face that and had to pay a hefty fine. And, he had to call his good old mentor who's now passed away. But that guy's not even as much as his mentor anymore. But, Trump had to, it was an interesting time. So he does have a history of this type of behavior. He does have history. I mean, Roy Cohn was his mentor. And if you don't know who Roy Cohn is, definitely look that man up because he's nuts. He's nuts. And I mean, he's dead now, but crazy. Closeted gay man, died of HIV and AIDS complications, but tried to say it was something else, like it was liver cancer. If you all seen the HBO miniseries Angels in America, if you have not seen it, go on HBO Max and watch it. It's with Meryl Streep. If you have not seen it, Al Pacino plays his character. Phenomenal. Jeffrey Wright was in this. This came out like in the early 2000s. It's based off of a Pulitzer Prize winning Broadway play. One of my favorite all-time Broadway plays is Angels in America. It's a 2-part. But this miniseries, they do the 2 parts, part 1 and the second part, which this play is done in 2 parts. Very long play, but a phenomenal show. Angels in America is incredible. If they ever did a Broadway revival, I'm debating if I would see it because it's very long. It's a very long play. But there's a part 1 and a part 2. So they both years they had to come back and do it. But Jeffrey Wright did the musical, not the musical. He did the miniseries, and it's a play. It's not a musical. But he won a Emmy. Al Pacino won an Emmy for Best Actor. Meryl Streep won an Emmy for Best Actress in the miniseries for her performance. She's incredible. She plays multiple characters. Emma Thompson is in it. It is just great. But anyway, Trump has had an interesting political past. There was definitely some problematic racist viewpoints throughout his history, for sure. But politically, he leaned more on the Democratic end. I mean, that's where he leaned for many, many years, and who he hung out with. So if we are to believe Epstein, we know Epstein and him had a relationship. Back then, that would be during the time where people would have assumed that Donald Trump was a liberal, that he was a Democrat. Okay, so I just don't know if you want to walk down that path with that logic, J.D. Vance. Because if you're wondering what the Democratic friends were doing with Epstein, Trump was with them Democratic friends too. So what are we doing here? Just, again, people got to really think about how they come with their messaging. And I say this because I think about this recent controversy, which I don't want to take too much time to talk about this in particular, but this whole David Justice conversation around Halle Berry. He's the former baseball player that dated her. He's talking about the reason why he didn't marry her, or I guess he they didn't last because, stupid reason. But the reason why their relationship did not work out, because that was Halle Berry's first ex-husband. So they were married, but he said it didn't work out because, she didn't want to cook, she didn't want to clean, she wasn't the marriage type or whatever the fuck it is. Why is he still talking about her 28 years after their divorce? Like, move on. Okay? There's so many allegations about, their relationship. He denies the abuse claims because there were allegations that he hit her so hard in the face that it punctured her eardrum and made her deaf in one ear. That was the narrative for many years, about their relationship and an abusive relationship. Holly has been very silent about this, not talked about it. There's also speculation that the abuse allegedly could have came from when she dated Wesley Snipes. There's just been all types of allegations about the first marriage. But nonetheless, this woman has moved on. Who gives a fuck about whether you think she can cook or clean or whatever? Now, people were saying, oh, well, Halle Berry is an Oscar-winning actress and she's a Hollywood star. Like, why would he think that about her? Now, let me just also put some things in context. Not that it matters, but again, I like to be actual factual with the tone and tenor. The time when David Justice, when he was a NLB a Major League Baseball, MLB player, a Major League Baseball player. When he was married to Halle Berry, she was not, this is before the Oscar. This is before she even won the Emmy for introducing Dorothy Dandruff, which is one of my favorite made-for-TV movies. Again, I'm a nerd. Get into it. But this is before the Oscar. This is before Swordfish. This is before she went topless. This is before she was a Bond girl, Gothica, Razzie. This is before all of that. This was around the time when she was starting to come up. I mean, this is like right before maybe around Baps, Flintstone, Losing Isaiah, definitely around the time of Jungle Fever, Boomerang, definitely around Boomerang. This is around that era of Halle Berry. This is before Halle Berry was like Halle Berry, okay? So when I hear people talking about it in that way, I want y'all to know they were not together during that part of her career. However, what should be said, because I'm a big Hollywood buff, I really study the stars, especially Black Hollywood. I was one course away from being a cinema studies major at Penn, I think it was a minor. I took enough courses. If I took one more course, I would have had a minor in cinema studies. What people don't understand was that Halle Berry was a pageant girl. She was a beauty, like she was like a Miss America. She was a pageant girl. She was, in competitions. So Halle Berry, the argument could be, why would he think that a pageant girl like her would even do that? This is a woman who was the first runner-up in the 1986 Miss USA pageant. She was Miss Ohio USA. She also was in the top 7 of the Miss World pageant later that year. Halle Berry was that girl. Okay? So before she was the big Oscar-winning actress, she was a pageant girl. Gorgeous. Okay? Stunning. But she wanted to be an actress. This is Miss Ohio USA, baby. She was the first runner-up in 1986 Miss USA pageant. Don't play with her. So you got to understand, this was she had the big hair. And I think y'all forget because of Halle Berry's age. But Halle Berry is 58 years old. She's old enough to be my mama. Like, Halle Berry is that girl. Okay, she's aged flawlessly. She's beautiful. And what's funny is she's about to turn 59 this year. This week, actually. Her birthday's August 14th. She is a Leo. That makes a lot of sense. But she was a Leo. She's a Leo. But her birthday's August 14th. She's going to turn 59 years old. She's from Cleveland, baby. So, this is that was her first husband. She's been married 3 times. She was married to David Justice from 1983 to 1987. So, again, like I said, it was during that era of her career. Then she got married to Eric Benet, the R&B singer from 2001 2005. That was like her blockbuster Hollywood era. And then she got married to Olivia Martinez from 2013 2016. One thing I noticed about her marriage period is that she's been married. She mostly stays married for about 4 years. And then she eventually divorces, which is interesting. But she's been married 3 times. She doesn't want to get married to Van. Okay, even though I think they're cute, Van Hunt is fine. Okay. And Van Hunt is 55 years old. So she's married. I mean, not married. She's dating a man that's around her age. They look good together. And he's old enough to be my daddy, too. Those are my parents, my Hollywood parents. They're old enough, too. Okay. There's a nice age gap between my Halle Berry and Van Hunt. Those are my Hollywood parents. If I was to pick Hollywood parents, well, see, I like Courtney V. Vance and Angela Bassett. But somebody would say they were my grandparents. They were my grandparents. But I will say Halle Berry and Van Hunt are my Hollywood parents in my head, you know. But nonetheless, I digress. Context matters there. And so, people talking about, the fact that this man is bringing this up years later, he's a clown. So I think that's big. Also, several things. Trump is doing investigations into Hillary and Obama. Whatever. Remind you all, this is something going on by Congress. These are investigations. They don't mean indictments. They don't mean anything. They're just investigations. This is just distractions, y'all. Investigations and probes. Like, these are distractions. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Also, there's a black TikToker. It's a black man on TikTok who is being arrested, like federally arrested and charged because he threatened to harm the president, to basically a death threat towards the president of the United States. And he recorded it, like it was recorded, and he said it, and now feds have gotten him in custody, and this man is probably going to be in some serious trouble. Now, there's been several presidents, Obama was threatened 6 times, I believe, or whatever, and in such a way that led to people being arrested. So this is not an uncommon thing. But I just want to tell a lot of you folks out there that we're in a different time where that is why I'm big on saying allegedly. That is why I am very mindful about how I discuss, this president. I mean, you should do this with any elected official because, look at our current governor in Pennsylvania, Shapiro. I mean, his house, the governor's mansion, like people are taking these threats very seriously. This is a very politically charged time. And so if you're mad, vent with your friends at dinner, preferably in the privacy of your own home, but do not go out your way to say that kind of like it's not worth it. It's not. Some of y'all get a little too spicy on the socials. I mean, and not even just, let me just take a moment because I got to get the aunties and uncles and grandpapas and grandmamas together because let me tell you something. Y'all get on here on these social media platforms and y'all just be telling too much of y'all business and asking questions. First of all, when I was at the Vineyard, people was in my social, they would see me at a place and they were like, where you at? Are you near so-and-so? I'm like, this is a DM, sweetie. My page is public. I'm a public figure. I cannot be out here dropping the pin on my exact locations. Okay, it's already a lot to even say I'm an Oak Bluffs. Because I used to, when I first came here, I didn't want people to know where I was at. But I'll be more specific, right? Like I'll tell you I'm at Martha's Vineyard, but I used to even tell people which part of the island I was on. But now I've been around, I feel comfortable. I'll tell you which part of the island, but I'm not getting into what neck of the woods I'm at. I'm not telling you where my beach house is at. I ain't getting why. That's too much. So yeah, some people that I just be like, y'all just be out here just sharing y'all personal businesses, like really specific business. Like listen. In the words of a great artist who's no longer with us, I gotta watch my back because I'm just not anybody. Okay, so yeah, but I say this to say that there are people on the internet that be saying things, and I'm just like, sometimes, very seldom I do this, but sometimes I do. I delete certain comments on my page because some of you all get real gutter sniper in those comments. Like the stuff that y'all say, y'all are making threats, y'all getting real crazy. And what you don't know, and this is why I just want you all to know this, because my page is verified. It's a high profile page. It is less susceptible to getting reported. Like if there's haters that want to report my shit, it's very hard for my page to get taken down because of that. However, if there are certain types of consistent patterns of like violent language or threats being made, a person who puts it on my page, if somebody reports it, it's more likely to get your page deactivated or taken down because it's on a high profile page. And so sometimes the algorithm and the monitors do not know the difference between, is this person threatening the high profile person or is the person threatening someone else? You just don't know. And so sometimes I will get people that will say some really gangster shit on my comments. Now, mind you, they're not saying it to me because my page is now set where the only people that can comment on my page are people that I follow back. Now, I know a lot of you all will DM me on my IG and go, oh, I can't comment, but I want to say thank you or congrats. And if you're somebody who consistently likes and show love and I recognize it, I'll follow you back because I'm not like, it's not because I don't like a person. It's just that in the past, I got doxxed. Yeah, I remember when Sean King, for those who don't remember, but Sean King had doxxed me in such an ugly way where there used to be a time where my page was very public. Like, my page is public. Like, everybody can see my posts. But there was a time where the comments would be open, where, anybody can comment or whatever. And most people kept it responsible and respectful. But it got to a point where when he doxxed me, when I called him out one time, it was so many people just on my page. It was almost like they set bots to my page. And I was getting massive like emojis at rapid rate. And it was almost like they were set to troll and harass. And so I had to change my settings so that only people who I follow back can comment. And so that made the difference. And I've never went back to that again. And even with my Twitter account, like I'm on Twitter a little bit, but I'm barely on Twitter nowadays. Like, Twitter is just, like, I still have my followers, but, like, I'm still on there. I retweet things from time to time. I mean, but I'm not on there like I used to. I used to be deep, and I still have a massive following on Twitter, but I just feel like Twitter, man, talk about a downfall. Like, I'll go on there and, there's a couple of, I go in there and see some of the celebrities and whatnot. I'm not really active on Threads, like, child, but Instagram really is where it's at. I know y'all like TikTok. Y'all can have TikTok, boo-boo. I know there's supposed to be an American version coming soon, allegedly. Even if they make an American version, we'll see. We'll still see about TikTok. I'm really doing everything in my power to not really be on TikTok like that. Like, again, I had a crazy moment on that too. But I just feel like right now my happy place is of course Instagram because I love the reels, I love the visual. It's become my favorite consistent app. I really do like Instagram now. I like the reels. I think it's because of just how engaging I am and how active I am, but I love that. I love Facebook for family. Like, I love the deep dialogue. Yes, dialogue. I have dialogue on Facebook. But I love the discussions that take place, and I feel like that's like my core, like really, really close friends and family. And so it's a really good, decent place to engage with them. Instagram is very vain. It's very, like a picture. I do share actual written content, but not too much discussions and discourse be taking place in the comments. Like, people don't really go back and forth. It's not that type of format, really. Now, funny enough, I mean, I guess I could be challenged by that because when I was in the shade room, baby, the way y'all was in them comments, I guess the depends. But my Instagram posts don't really spark too much like discourse in the comments. But my Facebook, baby, that is where it's at. Oh yeah, the girls get in there and they go give paragraphs. They go bar for bar. They go round for round. They go blow for blow. Okay, but there's a space for it all. And I'm also warming up to LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I've been using it very frequently. I do find LinkedIn to be a nice place. I actually use LinkedIn more. I feel like I'm posting more on LinkedIn than I am on Twitter nowadays. But those are my go-tos. Those are my go-to apps right now. Those are the ones I consistently like. But I say all this to say, do not be this black TikToker because, I mean, there's a lot of white liberals and progressives that said all kind of crazy shit about Trump. And I don't see the feds and people coming for them in the same way. But to my black folks on these social media platforms, listen, I know you may have your disagreements with the president, but violence is not acceptable, okay? We cannot act like that. There's people that have been on them apps doing whole types of insurrections and plotting an insurrection on January 6th. Again, we cannot talk about the whataboutisms because at this point we do live in a world where that is not the case. So we should not even pretend to be doing that. So just want to make that clear. I'm going to do something I haven't done in a couple of months. And this is a big one. I want to commend some Democrats. I saw Jasmine Crockett at the Vineyard. I thanked her. I saw her. Jasmine Crockett, she's trying to put some substance with her work. But I think a lot of it has to do with her decision not to run for leadership within Congress. I mean, there was some interest. She had some political interest in doing some things in Congress. But I think she's kind of softened on that perspective. She's not as, she wants to do the groundwork. She wants to do the engagement work. And, I love that for her. So, I'm just like, I love that for her. And it's just some great work, for sure. But I think it's important. I think it's an important, she's doing some good work. But the Democrats, I guess, gotta some of the Democrats are really stepping up. Maybe some of them have been listening to my podcast. Maybe some of them have just been listening to their constituents. We want action. And shout out to them Texas Democrats, baby. Because y'all listen, the fight that they're having over that every districting fight they're having right now, I'm here for it. Those Texas lawmakers left to foil the redistricting plan, and it could spell a special session to extend the battle. Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who is a Republican, of course, and a Trumper, he issued a new threat on Fox News on Sunday, and this is according to The Guardian, basically saying that he would use his powers to call a special session of the Texas legislature to extend the battle indefinitely. Like, he wants to keep this going. He's pissed. He's been threatening to arrest them for violating their oath of office. Whenever they come back, he said they would be arrested when they come back to Texas. A lot of these state reps and folks, they've left. More than 50 Texas Democrats. And the crisis is reaching a crunch because here's the real talk. And he went on Fox News on Sunday making these threats, saying that, the special session lasts 30 days. He said as soon as this one is over, he's going to call another one, and then another one, then another one, like, he's feeling some type of way. And he said they will be arrested. And he said Sundays, this is Sunday's Texas political talk shows. They're dominated by the increasingly dispute. Everybody's been talking about what's happening with Texas, these gerrymandering plans, which they're saying were instigated at the behest of Donald Trump directly. The plan would be, if this gerrymandering would work, it would move to flip 5 U.S. House seats to the Republicans, which is being made as polls indicate that the U.S. president's party. This is talking about the GOP. They will struggle to hang on to their razor slim majority in the chamber in the 2026 midterm elections. Okay? The Republicans currently hold a margin of just 3 seats. So that means that all it takes is for the Democrats to basically flip 4 seats, and they will basically have the majority of the House. They're going to flip more than that. But he's trying to do everything in his power. Allegedly, the president is trying to play around in some states. But really, it's happening in Texas because he is scared that he's going to lose, that the House is going to lose. They're going to lose the midterms. And if they lose the midterms, which I believe they will, and I hope they will, and they got to. They really have to, y'all. They really have to, because if they don't, I mean, things are bad now, but things could get worse. Like, worse. And somebody could say, how worse can it get? I'm like, oh, God. I mean, listen, I'm at a point right now, and I've said this several times on this podcast, that I'm investing in preventative care. I can't even talk about glow up. Like, if this was a skincare regimen, this would be like retinol. Like, we're trying to prevent, like, this would be sunscreen. Actually, this would be like a sunscreen. This wouldn't even be like collagen where I'm boosting and enhancing. No, we trying to maintain what we currently have. Okay, we can't even talk about aging backwards. We're talking about, preserving what we have. I'm in preservation mode right now. Like, I don't want to lose gay marriage. I don't want to lose marriage equality. I don't want to lose any more civil rights. Like, as much as we can hold on to. Like, like, we're at a point where we can't extend. So, like, I know there was a time where we wanted to talk about the Equality Act. Like, we wanted to have equal federal protections for LGBTQ people. I would love that, y'all. I really would. But in Trump's current presidency, listen, all I can say is go to states or cities where there are LGBTQ protections. That is why my ass is in Philadelphia, and that is why I'm in Philadelphia County, because we're in a predominantly Democratic city, even though they get on my nerves. But as of right now, we're willing to protect LGBTQ protections on a citywide level in the municipality. So that's just where I'm at. I wish I could live in a country like where there was protections for LGBTQ people on a federal level and at a level where it would be mandated across all 50 states and territories. But that is just not where we're at, and I've accepted that right now, because if trying to push them on that means there's a bigger backlash that they might actually trample other rights that we currently have, I don't want to play that game. So, yeah. Okay? Because more than, we just cannot. So, it's about preservation. And so, let's keep this house. But the Texas Democrats are fighting, right? 50 of them have left the state. They're in democratically controlled states like Illinois and New York. The relocation is designated to deprive Republicans of a quorum. So they're doing this to deprive Republicans of a quorum needed to pass their new gerrymandered maps in the Texas legislature in Austin. They went on a lot of them Democratic governors have went on political shows this weekend to push their own barrage of words threatening counteraction. Some of them are talking about using strong language to indicate that the leadership of the Democratic Party is determined at this point to take a stand. I mean, you got the New York Democratic Governor Kathy Hochul. She accused Abbott on Fox News of being a lapdog for Trump. She's been saying her famous "knock it off" line. Get back to governing, she's saying. She's saying, look, if Texas continues to play these games, quote unquote, we're not going to sit on the sidelines. We're New Yorkers. We fight back. She's pushing. You got J.B. Pritzker, who's a Democratic governor of Illinois. He basically said, there's a lot of those Texas Democrats are in an undisclosed hotel outside of Chicago. So they're trying to, not be found, basically, went off and said that, he accused Trump of being a cheater, saying he cheats on his wives, he cheats at golf, and now he's trying to cheat the American people out of our votes. It's a lot going on. Beto O'Rourke is out here, supporting them. It's a lot happening. He's pushing back. They got to fight fire with fire. I need is Democratic governors in certain states with majority legislators. Are y'all gonna gerrymander y'all way? Like fuck it. Like do something, because if they want to take some majority, let's go round for round. Let's go bar for bar, as Cardi B said, because it's necessary. Because at a certain point, people are tired. People are tired of being told we can't do anything. Our hands are tied up. Yes, you can. Do what they doing, and that's what we're doing. We're fighting back. So it's good to see them doing what they're doing. I mean, Mondani in New York. Speaking of New York, you got Mondani out here pushing against Cuomo. I must say that Andrew Cuomo, I mean, we could say his legacy has already been tarnished by his antics, all the stuff going on with all the, sexual harassment allegations and all the scandals and the resignations. His legacy has been the shits for a minute. But I must say that it has been, I mean, going low is one thing, but this man is going low, low, low. Shorty got low, 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 low. Flow rider low, okay? Apple bottom jeans low. Boots with the fur low. Fur low, okay? Not that kind of, like a fur low. He is going low. And I think part of it is based on a fear. I think he is talking a bunch of cash shit because he really is, I think, worried about his political future. And I get that, but this ain't it, dog. This ain't it. This ain't it. And so I think there's a lot of reflections. He's talking about Mondani's stamina. He's talking about this country Mondani was at, this wedding he had. I'm just like, it's gotten super personal in ways that's just corny personal. I'm not really crazy about it. But he's showing his ass, and it's only a matter of time. And there's speculation that even Trump might get in a race. There's also New York Times reported that Trump got in contact with Cuomo right after the primary. So it's like you went from being the guy that we supposed to believe want to take Trump on if you get elected, to you're in communication with him. So you're like a puppet. Like, so Eric Adams ain't the only one. I mean, at least Eric Adams is funny. I mean, listen, the guy is funny as fuck. Listen, not to be reelected for sure, but I do enjoy that this man is losing with a sense of humor. I mean, he'll think he has a chance, but this is a joke. But he's like, I think he's happy he's not going to jail. I think that like he's happy he's not going to jail. I'll say that he's happy he's not going to jail. So you got that going on. Mondani's just pushing through. More and more people are embracing him as a Democratic nominee, which is good. But he's ready. He is so ready. So we'll see. We'll see. So media changes. There's been a lot. And I want to say this before I get into like the deep dive, because we are going to talk about the NABJ convention. This is the segment. We're going to talk about it. But I want to take some time to talk about Instagram and Meta. You've been hearing about the fact that Instagram and Meta with the Instagram maps can spot your exact location if you do not change the settings. Please go online, read this, look it up, go in your settings. I mean, everybody got different phones, so whether you have an Android or an Android or a Apple phone, iPhone, check your settings on location settings. And if you might have allowed the location setting, you should be able to now turn it off, because now it can track your exact location. And like, that's not good for stalkers. Like, why is Meta doing, like, who thought this was a good idea? It's just the thirst to give information to data and advertisers. Like, this is just going too fucking far. But if you have not been paying attention, if you have not seen articles, if you've not been watching the news, I know a lot of you all, some of you all tell me that you listen to my podcast to get the scoop on different stuff. This is an important public service announcement, PSA. Please go Google, go look up legitimate, actual factual articles. There's a lot of press about this new situation with location Meta, and this is Meta too. So this does not just include Instagram, it also includes Facebook, because Meta owns Facebook and Instagram, just FYI. And so the location, I guess the settings now, if you have not changed your locations or your settings yourself manually, you might be having all your exact location might be able to be found on the map according to Instagram Maps. So you might want to change that ASAP. So please do that. Also, for those who have not been following, there's been just a continuous rounds of layoffs and cuts across the media industry. Jonathan Capehart is leaving the Washington Post. He officially left last week, gave his farewell, which was a big damn deal, because he's been there for years, won a Pulitzer Prize. He's been there for decades. Not decades, what decades? Over 20 years. But he's been there for a long time, and he's leaving it. And he was a columnist. He was a part of the editorial board, and he's leaving. And I think a lot of it has to do with Jeff Bezos and the direction of Washington Post ever since Trump got back in. So he's leaving it. And I ain't mad at him, to be honest. I'm not. I have no complaints there, no notes there. So let's talk about NABJ convention. It was in Cleveland. It was during the week I was at the Vineyard. Intentional, maybe or not, who knows? But I've noticed that since I've been banned, temporarily banned, I've been banned. I have a 5-year ban, so I've not been permanently banned from NABJ. But as of right now, if I was to be asked to come back, I probably would not. But I come with updates. It seems like every year I come with updates for you all about just everything going on with NABJ. Every convention since I have been banned, there's been an embarrassment and another embarrassment and another embarrassment, and it just continues to get worse. And so last year they had Trump, and that was a sign of problems, in my opinion. And I shared my thoughts about that. I did a whole special edition about it. This time around, more news have come. So, as you all know, the election happened, and I told you about the executive director. So before I get into the election and details, they did go through with appointing that old board last Monday. I think it was last Monday or Tuesday. They appointed Elise Durhams, who I named, who was the Atlanta-based journalist, the media professional. She is now NABJ's newest executive director. This was a controversial appointment because a lot of people, including members of the organization and candidates who was running at the time, they wanted so badly for there to be, they really wanted there to be a new board that made the decision on the executive director. They did not want the old outgoing board, which again, some of these people were not outgoing. Some of these people did term out naturally, not run for reelection. But they did not want these people to have this position, to make that decision, given that they knew there was going to be a likely change in leadership and vision. But that board exercised their power. They said, we don't give a fuck about what y'all talking about. We out of here. So they made the decision and they got a new executive director. But also, in addition to the announcement of the new executive director, they also had the election and the election results. So here's the election results. The new NABJ president will be Erin Haynes. She did win. Which I'm not, again, we weren't shocked about. I wasn't shocked about because I felt like it could go either way. But I think what really took her over the top, again, I'm just guessing, is that decision that they did pick the executive director. I think had they would have waited it out, some people who I've spoken to, just on background, folks that I know, and, these are Black journalists, even though, some of them have chosen to align themselves with this problematic organization. Nonetheless, there were some people that was out there that they told me, they said, they think that really got people wired up. And the way in which Erin won, she won by 211 vote margin. So this is a large voter margin. This is a large margin. She whooped his ass in a 3-person race. Dion, who I liked personally for the role, he only got double digits. He got like around 90 something votes at that. Erin got over 500 and Ken Lemon got around 200 or something. 300 something votes. So yeah, that was belt to ass. It was people called it a referendum, a mandate, but people I think wanted Ken's ass out. Now the vice president for broadcast, which was his crony, I would argue, allegedly, but his road dog, Walter Smith Randolph, who is an alpha brother, who we are fraternity brothers, but also someone who betrayed me in this whole ordeal. He survived by a thin. He won his race for re-election by 1 vote. 1 vote. You mean to tell me? See, this is why I would have been the voter that could have tied it. I just don't get it. People, man, that was a close ass race, but people really showed out and voted for the presidential race. So Ken makes history as the first NABJ president to not win re-election, following other presidents before him, such as Sarah Glover and Dorothy Tucker, who easily won re-elections. Previous presidents, under Sarah Glover, she was the first to be able to do re-election, because in the past, NABJ presidents were not allowed to run for re-election. But most of the time, incumbency is not hard. Most people get re-elected. So for him to lose in the way that he did shows that the membership is currently fed up. And there's a lot of reasons why they're fed up. For starters, they got I told y'all last week, they are hundreds of thousands of dollars in deficit. That's one. This year, I heard estimates that the convention had less than there was roughly 1,000 people who did not come compared to the previous year in Chicago. So you got 1,000 folks who will not come to Cleveland compared to those who went to Chicago. Membership numbers are dwindling. There's a lack of morale. There is mismanagement allegations, leadership issues, massive departures of staff. A lot of the shit that I whistleblowed. This sounds very familiar because it is fucking familiar. But lots of the issues that I raised, a lot of the stuff that I brought to the table, a lot of the issues that I blew a whistle on, and I was gaslighted, excluded, slandered. I mean, I dealt with a lot of shit. And I told them this. And the chickens have come home to finally roost. Because I told them this was going to happen. I said, y'all, I don't, there's something about this that does not sit well with me. And kept telling them, mm-mm. The more and more I thought about it, the more and more I processed it, the more it became to feel like, And through time heals. Time heals. Time provides certainty and clarity. Time, in many ways, is the ultimate exonerator. I look at where I was 2 years ago, how I looked, how I felt, the level of chaos and stress I was dealing with, all that shit. And I look at myself 2.5 years later, I look good. I look the fuck good. I don't look like what I've been through. I look good. I feel good. I smell good. I act good sometimes. Life is good. I am blessed. And I knew this moment was going to happen, that I would get to that point of justice. And there's more to come, right? I do believe there's more to come. But like in so many ways, I told myself, if we ever got to that point, this moment right now, would I go, I told you so to them? I don't think that characterizes my feelings about this. I think it's because I want to think about this. Like, I don't feel joy in the fact that this Black organization in a time like this is struggling. Just as a Black person, as a Black journalist, I don't wish ill will in that way. No, it is fuck some of them all day, for sure. But the vindication of this is comforting. And it does feel good to know that people are speaking up and people are taking action and people have found a backbone. It's a shame, however, it is a shame that it took all of this for us as Black journalists and people in this media space to get to this point, to give a fuck and to care and to do this. That's what gets me. That's what hurts, because it shouldn't have to been like this. It didn't have to be like this. And how far we could have been if people would have listened to me and others. Because I was only one. My good friend, Manny Smith, my bestie, my road dog, my brother in good crime. He ran for NABJ president a couple years ago. A couple other people I know. We were truth sayers in Philadelphia when we became independent. We raised the alarm. We kept saying, where is the value? They're saying all this talk about money and this and this and this and this blockbuster years. How are y'all in this massive deficit like this? Even if money is acting funny, the culture, the transparency, people are seeing these things that I have seen for years. I hear their current parliamentarian can't even pass the parliamentarian exam. I passed it with an A my first time, but I hear they don't even know how to do a meeting. an actual professional business meeting that with transparency for their members. They're going to have the meeting at 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning, the night after a party. And it's so interesting because even though I know a lot of people in the industry that go to the convention, I didn't see too much celebration. I didn't see much of the job fair. I didn't see many pictures of too much activity. Like, I mean, granted, people like fellowship and hanging out, but them conventions are not cheap. Them conventions are not cheap. They're not cheap. I mean, you're there for that long. You got air travel, hotels, flight. It's not cheap. And then you got to pay for the registration. And then you got to pay for your food and your meals and stuff on top of that. It ain't cheap, baby. Listen, look, I got me a nice little summer house at the Vineyard now. So I'm set on the housing aspect. So now, the flights are not that expensive because I'm traveling direct flight. Oh, that's the other thing too. I don't drive to the Vineyard. I take the flight. I take a direct flight from Philly, of course, to the Vineyard. There's a direct flight you can take a direct flight. Okay. Now, if you're somebody who likes to drive, you got to make sure that you got to plan this and know your location so you don't be wasting Uber flights and stuff. I mean, Uber rides and, things like that. But once you study the land and the areas you want to be at, the restaurants and stuff, you can find good walking distance and opportunity there. But let me tell you, listen, come ready and be prepared, for sure. But, you live and you learn. You live and you learn. I put a statement out, as some of you have already read. If you're the Core 500, you done already seen it. But I put a statement out, and I wanted to, name this and say that I use my opportunity, my statement, not to do a bitter Betty type of tone, but, just happy to say this statement I put out, I was proud of my statement, how I put it out. Because I'm going to read the statement for those who've already read it. I'll read it here because there is growth here. There is growth because listen, me, from a couple years ago, I would have said, fuck y'all motherfuckers, blah, 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 blah. I didn't do all that. So I'll read what I wrote publicly. I'll say this. That's how I started it. So while I was enjoying my vacation this week, I was briefed on the total catastrophe and debauchery that was the NABJ convention in Cleveland. For those who are new to my life, in 2023, I became the first and only member of the National Association of Black Journalists to be banned for 5 years following years of publicly and internally whistleblowing the organization's problematic leadership and mismanagement on social media and business meetings. The good news is that during the convention, the now former NABJ president who doubled down on banning me saw his re-election hopes get defeated in a loud and resounding 221 vote margin. Good news indeed. The shameful news is that 2 years since my abrupt exit, NABJ, now in its 50th year, is currently facing hundreds of thousands of dollars in deficit, dwindling membership engagement, a crisis in leadership transparency and accountability, with a newly appointed executive director and elected board president having to help pick up those pieces. Translation, the chickens have finally come home to roost. Saying that I was right all along isn't the proper way to characterize the totality of this moment, but the vindication is comforting. For years, I was gaslighted, slandered, excluded, and had to navigate a new networking pipeline to develop, cultivate, and mentor myself. It was in these tough moments that I became a better journalist, media leader, and voice for the communities I care about. With my tribe of local voices, I helped reimagine a better opportunity model, one that is more intentional, inclusive, and innovative. Next month, I'm proud to announce, as the president of the oldest Black Journalism Association in America, the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists, is proud to produce our first ever convention right here in Philly. Insightful, affordable, and efficient, this 2-day experience is an investment in a future for Black journalists that is more promising than bleak, more optimistic than skeptical. To attend, promote, and/or learn more about PABJ's Emerging Media Diversity Convention, check us out right here at thepabj.org. End of statement. So yeah, I really did my big one. I really did. I'm proud of my response. I'm growing up because, oh me, baby, I would have let them have it. I would let them have it. But what a good way to, and I'm going to pat myself on the back for that, because what a good way of, I took a situation like that. Y'all know I've grown. I've definitely grown. Okay. I definitely have. Because, woo, if this would have been, if this would have been a different time, it just would have came out differently. But I knew people wanted to know what I had to say. I've definitely put some time in between what I have to say about them, but in those moments, people wanted to know what my thoughts were. And also I was like, I ain't just gonna talk about NABJ. I'm gonna put some promotion. Like, yeah, by the way, if y'all want to go to a better convention, baby, we got one next month in September, baby. Registration is now open, baby. It ain't no better promotional plug than that. Okay? Cause I knew y'all was ready. Was ready. So I was like, let me give y'all the promo, the ultimate promo. Because that promo was there. For sure. Because yeah, I was like, come on. Cause it's time. It's time for us to come through, be strong, and stand and take a position. We got to. And so this convention, like I said, is exciting. I'm happy I put out my statement the way I did. And yeah, it's time to just move forward. And I will do some frequently asked questions. People will say, well, what is the relationship with, PABJ? Are we good? Are we whatever? This is what I will say to y'all. And I'm big on this. This is what I will say. I really, if Erin's president now, she won her election fair and square. If there's a chance of reconciliation with PABJ, NABJ, myself, here's my list of demands. And I'm not begging, because I'm good regardless. But for those who are listening, those who like to go back, and I'm not mad, but I have a list of demands. If there was to be a real conversation, because there's levels to this. Erin and I have had a personal relationship. We're no longer friends at this time. A lot has been going on. And people, I had shout out to my girl Candace. She said, my girl, I love me some Candace. She said to me that I clearly had a crystal ball and predicted the future. I appreciate that, baby. That third eye, baby, I can never go blind. But I say all this to say, because this is important to note, because this matters. What I will say is that, one, we need to have an honest conversation. Me and that president, me and NABJ President Haynes, we need to have a conversation. And I'm open to having a conversation. I'm open to having discourse. Or dialogue. I'll be fair, dialogue. But I'm open to a discussion and a conversation. Now there is a space. Something has changed. And I do think we're in a space where we can have a conversation. Now, going back to being besties and homies and all that, let's not get ahead of ourselves. But I do think I am open to having a conversation in general, a civil conversation, because I listened to her victory speech that someone posted, and it says it's a time for there to be some healing and unifying, coming together. And so I do think there is space to have a conversation. I'm open to it. Y'all can tell her that. I'm not telling her that because I'm going to be a little bit like a diva. I didn't do anything wrong. Why do I always got to be the person to implicate I'm learning that I need to receive folks that show up. Because if you do extend, I don't need to extend the olive branch. The olive branch should be extended to me. Now, granted, when the conversation does happen and we do have dialogue and discourse, I am going to be in a position where I am going to acknowledge that I may have been a little catty and petty at times, and I can apologize for that. I can say that. I mean, I mean, it was justifiable, but I can be an adult and I can acknowledge that. I could do that. But I mean, there's a cause for every, reaction. There is a cause. And so the cause of the reaction needs to also be forthcoming in that regard. But I am civil in that way. So I'm going to model that behavior. And I'm saying this publicly so that she don't lie, or anybody will lie and say, "Oh, Ernest say you do." Let it be on the record. I am open to dialogue. I'm open to a conversation. I'm open to discourse. That's the first thing. The second thing is, you can't talk about remending a relationship between an organization and the organization if you got the president of the organization currently banned. So they gotta lift that ban. Okay, I don't know how they do it, but that board needs to lift the ban. Kill the ban. Kill the ban. Kill the ban. Because the ban was problematic, and I would argue unconstitutional. The way they even went about it was fucked up, and there should be a repeal. So that needs to be killed. They need to kill the ban. Third, I gotta go back to my membership and see what my membership want to do. Because my membership, we like our independence. We kind of have a rebelness to it. We kind of like this. And let me be very clear about what I mean. Like, we like being our own entity in our group, respectfully, in many ways. My membership stands by their president. When I got banned, it was very clear to them that they was like, yeah, we not about to have these conversations about NABJ because ain't no coming. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is my board rock with me. That's one thing. So first, there needs to be a conversation. Second, the ban needs to be killed. And then the third thing is, if PABJ is to come back in affiliation with NABJ, it will not go back the way it did before. There needs to be a whole new overhaul of what affiliations look like between chapters and groups. There needs to be a whole overall about whether or not like the way in which the current system is. And I'm happy there's a new executive director, that there is a new board president, because, like, let's be real. Aaron knows the shit that PABJ dealt with NABJ. They know she was in them conversations. So it would not be hard for her to actually meet the demands. And it's not even about just me. It's bigger than me. It's about all the other stuff that's been going on. There's a lot. And, there's a lot there. And yeah. So, and they got a lot of work to do. This convention, and I will get to that part in a minute, but I'll get to some of that drama. But that's the work. Let's work out what that looks like and have those conversations. Her first term, if she decides to run for re-election, but she has a 2-year term. So she's got, we got 2 years. I mean, we got time, but it would be nice to expedite this. She might say, fuck me, and she ain't talking to me and never talk to me or whatever, and good luck. Good luck, babe. But if this is bigger than personalities, individuals, and it is about the current state of Black journalists and the issues that we're having, it would be a time to unify. Now, the other barrier, too, is what to do with that NABJ Philly. Now, see, I ain't trying to be petty or political, but they didn't even endorse Aaron for president, for NABJ president. So what you should do is you should just kill that shit and bring it back into affiliation. I don't know. I just think it at this point, they don't have no feet to stand. They're about to be 2 years old later this year, and they still ain't got their shit together. But it's just not happening. And at a point where we are politically, only the strongest will survive. We need to take care of each other. We need to come together and make sense of this shit with people that are well-meaning. But it's up to the powers that be, It's up to that president. This president is willing to come to the table and sit down and have a conversation. Okay, however that conversation go, wherever it leads, will be where it's going to be. but I'm at least willing to come to the table and have dialogue. So I'll say that. So here's some other reported news about the convention, because a lot of people talked. They said that they had 3,096 registrants, is what the former executive director, Drew Berry, said. But the organization's financial status was subject to conflicting interpretations. This is being reported. There's been speculation that the organization reported a shortfall of $700,000 to $800,000 for the convention. But Drew Berry, the former executive director of NABJ, told the group, "We aren't even close to getting into financial problems. Don't let them freak you out. We are we are in really, really good shape." And he's saying that because of rainy day planning, is what he's claiming. But apparently the financial chair, a man named Rodney Brooks, who was a former treasurer of NABJ, had said that the rainy day fund can disappear very quickly and that NABJ should begin immediately to reduce costs, revise projections for 2026, and implement year-round fundraising. This sounds very familiar. I think once upon a time, a little birdie named Ernest Owens told them that their fundraising did not exist and they need to do more fundraising. It was a little birdie named Ernest Owens who back in the day used to say, "You know what? You cannot rely just on the convention alone to raise your money. You got to diversify." But, that birdie named Ernest Owens just went to PABJ and just built that. So then also what the treasurer has said is that it would be unfair to compare revenue from the annual career fair they did in Chicago last year to this year's. However, she, the treasurer, had said that she could not dispute a report that came from Cleveland. Cleveland.com said that last year, about 75 entities signed up for sponsors of NABJ's convention in Chicago. However, this year, about 40 sponsors showed up this year. They lost nearly half of the sponsors they had at last year's convention this year, even though this was celebrating their 50th anniversary. Let that seep in. That's serious. And there's a lot of reasons, right? There's the DEI stuff. There probably had been some of the Trump shit that happened last year. CNN wasn't even there this year. They said the job fair was like really, really bad compared to previous years. Like normally it's big TV stations and groups. There was a couple of companies, but the way in which it used to be back in the golden era, back when I used to be at the conventions, it is not like that anymore, y'all. That's what people are saying. So there's a lot. There's a lot to unpack there. But good luck, babe. Good luck, babe. That's the mood, okay? Good luck, but good luck. Listen, that is the mood here. But so local politics, good news. There's some interesting news. Let me not say good news, but looks like in Pennsylvania politics, the Republican senators are coming back to Harrisburg on Tuesday. They're getting back to hopefully pass this budget. Governor Shapiro on Sunday afternoon did a press conference basically talking about the need for SEPTA and, how important it is to save SEPTA, because SEPTA is on a death spiral. We are shook. We don't know what to expect with SEPTA, baby. We don't know. It's a lot going on. And back to school is coming very, very soon. And a city like Philadelphia cannot function on public transportation. Like, it just cannot. So hopefully some smart lawmakers, okay, across the party aisles, Mr. Shapiro working across party aisles, you might want to go ahead. Hopefully they come through and we get what needs to be got, because this is going to be a shit show if it does not happen. But I'm optimistic. I think everybody's like, okay, playtime is over. Let's get this done. So let's see. We'll see about that. But some other tea that dropped this past weekend there's a lot going on here. So Pat Dugan, remember he was the challenger to District Attorney Larry Krasner, who won re-election. We didn't have the best relationship during this past election cycle. But, nonetheless, Pat Dugan ran a tough campaign against Krasner. There was rumors for a period of time. And I have to say, in the words of Lizzo, all the rumors were true. This weekend, Pat Dugan announced that he is going to be running against Larry Krasner for district attorney in the general election in November as a Republican. Okay, so several thoughts. I don't think Pat Dugan is really a Republican. I don't believe he is. At this point, it doesn't even matter because if you're going to register and align yourself to get it, okay, right? I don't think he's a Republican. I don't really think he is. I think he's a rhino. Republican in name only. I think he is being this way to play politics. I think several things. I think, one, he had 6,000 write-in votes in addition to the primary votes. I think because you know that in the Democratic primary, only Democrats can vote. And so because, Krasner has the advantage as being a Democratic incumbent, I think he believes, the theory I think he has, which again, it could be the Cuomo craziness. Well, not craziness. I'm not going to say crazy, but like the Cuomo naivety or audacity, but thinks that in his mind that if they go to the general election, a lot of Republicans and independents will show up and vote for him. And I guess whatever data that he might have, the science is informing his opinion. I don't see it personally, but I don't see it in the science. I just the sense is not clicking to me. But I think he thinks that, one, there will be some Democrats that will backstab the party and vote for him. And then there'll be, because they've done it before, okay, out of the general, there might have been some Democrats that might have voted Republican because they didn't want a certain person to get the out of the general seat. Who knows? But it wouldn't be the first time anyway. But I could see a situation where he's assuming that Democrats will come out. There will be some Democrats that will betray Krasner and vote for him. There will also be a lot of independents that will do that. And then there will be a strong excuse for Republicans to come out by large numbers. And he thinks that might give him a chance to win. I'm just providing the logic before I go in, because I'm about to go in. Bob Brady, who is the leader of the Democratic Party of Philadelphia, is very upset. He's heated. He is mad as fuck. He's like, he's a liar. He's a betrayer. He backstabbed the party. This is, he's angry. He's livid about this. He is just really pissed. And it's like, he doesn't have a home in this party. He can't come back. You crossing some interesting lines. Here's my other concern. I don't think, because he's done this, it's going to leave a sour taste in a lot of Democrats that did vote for him's mouth. Because whereas people may have said, look, I don't want Krasner to get it, I can't cross party lines and vote for your ass. And I don't know how he's going to make the case to get those people. Also, independent voters, I don't know if independent voters will naturally, if he's assuming is right. Do you assume that you're going to get all these independent voters? Because a lot of independents may not be affiliated with the Democratic Party, but that might be that third party base that will vote Working Families Party and support people like a Krasner, like them. So you may not even be guaranteed all of the independent votes, to be honest, because a lot of these people who are becoming independent are leaving the Democratic Party, but they're not voting Republican. They're looking to support third party. I mean, Dugan would have been better off. I know he could be a Working Families Party candidate because clearly Krasner's their guy, but he would have been better off running third party and just running as independent and getting everybody to vote for him. I don't know why he aligned himself with the Republican Party. That's the party of Trump. I guess money, doors, knockers, whatever, but this local party is so weak, so I don't even know what the value would be in doing that. But I digress. Not a fan of this decision personally. I think that it has eroded a lot of goodwill that he built with people, because even though he didn't win, I always thought Dugan overall was a decent guy. Because he was also the one candidate that did not have so much dirt. And, like they could not, throughout covering this race, they could never spot Dugan. But now this is going to give Krasner the narrative that he's wanted. He's always been trying to call Pat Dugan a puppet for the Republican Party, always wanted to call him a Republican. Dugan has said on record many times that he's a tried true blue Democrat. Well, a tried true blue Democrat would not be running in this type of situation. Like, they would not be getting involved. I mean, it's just it's not good. It does not look good. Does not look good. So I think that at the end of the day, I think Krasner will win. I am curious to see how much Dugan will win or lose by. I'm curious to see the percentage numbers though. But I think there's just going to be a lot of confusion. Krasner is going to have those talking points that's just going to like rattle. I don't know. And I also think a lot of good things work in Krasner's favor right now, even though I don't personally like Krasner personally. Crime is going down. We have seen the lowest case of homicides in this city in recent history. And a lot of this has to do with, I would argue, that Kevin Bethel, the police commissioner, but Krasner, I mean, listen, when crime goes up, if y'all don't want to blame the police department for the high level of crime and y'all want to blame Krasner DA's office, then how do you make the justification now? Because crime continues to go down. The fear mongering is going down. I mean, a lot of there's always something going on in the city, but across the country, we're seeing black mayors and leaders. We're looking at Baltimore. I mean, you're looking at Birmingham. You look at these black mayors run these cities in Chicago, and the crime rates are going down. Like, the homicides are going, like, stuff is going down. Y'all was making an argument about progressive DAs, but you could really argue the pandemic had a role in that crime situation. But now things are starting to slow down. People are going back to work. People got other shit to worry about. People are calming down. And the recession, I don't know shit. People ain't stealing no more. People ain't got shit to steal anymore. I don't know. Whatever it is, I'm happy. I'm happy for this. So that feels good, overall, that feels good. But, I think Krasner's going to win again. I'm not worried about it. I think that Pat Dugan has opened a can of worms, a lot of scrutiny, a lot of criticism. He's going to have to go back to some of his donors probably and have that conversation. Some of these Democrats. I mean, I'm just curious about who wants this, but we'll see. This week, Ask Ernest. It was actually inspired by a good friend of mine brought this question up and was talking about, people don't know how to be a friend and understanding the difference between friends and associates. It's always a good time to have that follow-up. A new year is about to happen. A new school year, a new work year. A lot of people about to get off of vacation. A lot of stuff that went down during the summer. I can't believe that we're talking about the end of summer. Goodness, it just felt like it just started. But we're in peak summer now, I suppose. We're hitting that zenith. We're hitting that peak, that prime of summer. Here's what I'll say. I think that familiarity and seniority does not define a friendship. Just because a person has been frequently around you and y'all have a lot of acquaintanceships, y'all done been around certain blocks and areas, does not automatically mean friendship. I think a lot of people have gotten super attached to this narrative of, this my friend, we're friends, we're blah, 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 and they would make judgments based on that. And I think a lot of people have really focused on familiarity. Oh, because we've gone to these places before, because we've hung out before, because we've done these things before, then we're friends. I think that's a very strong term. I think friends is a very strong term. And so where I'm at in my current, situation in life, I think it's better to be more intentional about that term. We use that word friend too loosely. And I think sometimes we just need to just use better verbiage. So friendship is a two-way street. You got to know that the way in which your expectations of the relationship needs to align with the expectation by the other person. I have had experiences where people have forced let me say that again, have tried to force friendships on me. Like force a relationship that I wasn't necessarily interested in having, you know? And it can be hard because you know, me, I don't, because I mean, for so many reasons, like I don't want to come off as being a bitch. I don't hurt people's feelings. I don't want to be like that, right? And so sometimes I just hopefully decline multiple invitations and like hyper or like simmer down. Like when I get a sense that the person's getting too familiar with me, and then sometimes when they share certain things, or they might, you just be like I remember I went to an event and somebody like was like trying to share a drink with me, and I was like, oh no, 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 no. First of all, it's COVID, so I don't even share drinks. But second of all, I was like, okay, that's way too much. Then there was a situation where I went out somewhere and somebody, I was a little tipsy, not like super drunk or anything, but I was at a event and they were nearby. They got a place nearby and they were like, oh, you seem like you worn out. You could just stay the night at my house or whatever. I got a bed up. I'm like across the street. I'm like, I have a whole house. I got a place. I could take an Uber. Like it's nothing. Like I don't got to stay overnight. But like you get, and again, mind you, if this was like a bestie, if this was like Jamarcus somebody, we literally lived like near each other. Like it'd be nothing for me to go crash or something, like whatever the case is. But if I don't know you like that, like I don't feel like I'm like, while your hospitality is nice, and it is nice, and it's nice for people to be that way, sometimes I do sense that people do try to force a connection that's just, and then also the way they act around it too. Like if you do a little thing, like I remember I went to lunch with somebody one time just to meet them. They wanted to meet me or something, talk about something, met with them. And granted, it was a one-time thing. I was there for a business purpose. It was just to sit down, have a conversation. It was done. Ever since then, that person wanted to frame it like, oh, we besties, this my best friend. We always hang out. When we gonna do it? And they was like name dropping me in place. I was like, come on. Like, and so there is a level of like dynamics of opportunism that happens. Sometimes it's just people just fangirling and fan outing. And that's okay to fan. I get it. But like, there's also a part where you gotta be real with yourself and be real about the expectations. And I sometimes find myself in situations where, people want to be friends with me, and I get it. I listen. But I'm also very protective and guarded because I have been fucked over. And I'm not saying that I don't want to make new friends and I'm just distrustful of people. But I do have to move in a way where I just can't be out here in the street every day. I meet somebody and bump into somebody, have a cute conversation, that they get my number, and next thing you know, they're at my birthday party and we're hanging out. Where like I just have had to learn to be more mindful. And as I get older, I'm more guarded in that. Not in a bad way. Like I'm always gonna be social. I will always give people hugs. I will always dap people up, handshake people, say hello. I'm always gonna be friendly. But being friendly don't necessarily mean being a friend. Okay? And that's not a bad thing. It's just that there's just boundaries. And I think as I've gotten older, I'm thinking more and more about boundaries, because it's also about being mindful of respecting not just the boundaries of yourself, but your other friends. Who are you bringing in your environment? Are other people going to respect the people you care about? Because that also shapes the nature of friendships. Because sometimes there are people that will never disrespect you, will never do you away because they respect you and they like you. But they don't have that same mutual respect or understanding to your friends. And I'm kind of like a Spice Girl. If you want to be my, you got to get with my friends. You got to be cool with everybody. Make this last forever, as if it never will end. Like, you got to have a connection there. There's got to be other bonds and mutual respect. Do you got to be friends, besties with all my friends? No. But there's got to be a level of respect, mutual respect given. And I think as time has progressed, how to be a friend is important when you are a friend. But even before you can even talk about how to be a friend or good friend, you got to recognize, is there even a friendship between both people? A friendship cannot be a one-way street. You can't be a friend to one person and a friend not be to you. Friendship, it requires two people to be actively engaged with each other, a minimum. A maximum, it can be as large as you want it to be, but a minimum of two people. And I find that so many people are having one-sided, quote unquote, friendships where you're the one making all the effort. You're the only one thinking about the other person. You're the only one willing to have conversation, dialogue, discourse. You're the only one that is considering the other person's feelings and thoughts. You're the only one responding. It's got to be both, and you got to make an effort, and it's active. It's a muscle. A friendship is a muscle. You have to work it. You have to strengthen it. You have to continue to practice it. You just can't rest on the laurels of, oh, I was a bodybuilder, last year, so I'm good now. No, because if you don't keep working out, it doesn't remain as strong and as fresh and as tight. And so you got to work it. And I look at friendship as a muscle. It has to be exercised. It can't just be something that you can just based on seniority. And a lot of times I think familiarity and seniority allows people to think that they can just continue to just dip off or not be as engaged or as invested and involved. And so it is a muscle. And as I get older and as I continue to progress, I am just more mindful of what I expect. I accept what I expect, you know. And so if I'm bringing compassion, consideration, thoughtfulness, creativity, and all of that to a relationship, I expect that from my friends in totality and in reciprocity. I expect it to return. Otherwise, what's a friendship then? If it doesn't have those elements to it. So, you know, just some food for thought. Just putting that out there because folks just, I think as time has passed, has really have slept on what these things mean and what they should be. And yeah, very important. So the latest in music and entertainment that listen, a lot has been transpiring this past weekend in Hollywood entertainment. So much tea. I want to start by saying a lot of y'all hit me up and said Freakier Friday was great. Told y'all. It did really well at the box office. It came in number 2. This movie called Weapons that everybody apparently is this horror film people been interested in did well, did number 1. But Freakier Friday is a big deal because it's actually outgrossed its budget that it cost to produce this film. And it's actually exceeding the levels to which it originally played 20 years ago at the box office. So it's actually has done even better numbers and it's a lot of anticipation. I mean, the stars are bigger. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan were hot 20 years ago, but even with all I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis is an Oscar-winning actress now. Lindsay Lohan is an icon at this point. Like, I mean, she's doing her thing. The cameos, the return characters, all of that. A lot of people really, really loved the film, and it just felt good. It wasn't just a them, Disney exploiting off of nostalgia. Like, it was a really good sequel and it aged well and the way they did it was phenomenal. A lot of you all said that. So I'm happy that the box office agrees and the people agree. And I've been telling y'all this was gonna be a really good film. Music, into music, which also has a lot to do with shows, but Sarah McLachlan dropped the latest single off of her upcoming album, Better Broken. Gravity. And I know a lot of you all, might be like, why is he giving us updates on Sarah McLachlan? Because this is a Sarah McLachlan Stan account, and you will get these updates as we get ready for that September 19th album release. Okay, I'm looking forward to this album. Okay, for some of us who are longtime stans of Sarah McLachlan, we have waited 11 years for this album. 11 years. So you Cardi B stans, and I'm one of them too, the Barty Gang, okay? We've been waiting for that album a long time too. It's been, 7 fucking years? But I digress. It's been 8 years. It's been 8 years. It's been a lot of time. It's been 8 years. Okay, Cardi. But Sarah McLachlan, 11 years. But mind you, Sarah McLachlan's type of artist where you might not get an album from her until a decade or 5, whatever, because she likes to take her time and she has to go through some life. And her life experiences chronicles her journey, so you can admire it and it's impressive. So love that for her. And I love the song, the new song. Both of these singles are good. I'm ready for this album. Now to award shows. There's some big news that came out that the BET Hip Hop Awards and the Soul Train Awards are being postponed indefinitely. Yes. for Black folks that watch these award shows. Some of y'all may have not watched them recently or whatnot, but these were, award shows, and I've talked about this over the years. I've talked about the Grammys, the Emmys, all this. I just need to be clear. Award shows are more than just about the awards, y'all. It's a cultural moment. It's a moment to watch a big star make their grand appearance. It is a place where history is made. People give impassioned, inspirational speeches. It inspires a person to dream bigger for themselves in some type of way. Like, I can't tell you how much I love award shows. Like, I'm obsessed with them. Like, I love the Oscars. The acceptance speeches, the seeing people in a moment, life change, to see them experience joy, to see a dream come true. Like, award shows is the most it can be. Sometimes it does not, but it can be some of the most real time inspiration that you can get. Like, if I ever want to boost my morale or feel good or get inspired, I watch an award show. I do. And I even go back. There are certain award show clips. Like, I would listen. There are some that I go on YouTube. I can't tell you that, like, every year, anytime I'm going to an awards show, I'm nominated for an award, or in any type of celebratory moment, I will go back and I will watch Halle Berry's Monster Ball when she wins the Oscar. That acceptance speech makes me cry every time. And I just get my entire life watching that. I also love watching, this is a lot too. Sometimes award shows, it's not even about emotionalness. It's sometimes just the humor and just the joy of the experience. Like, I don't know, watching Meryl Streep win for Angels in America at the Emmys, like her acceptance speech with that is just so classic Meryl, and I just enjoy it. Yeah, I just like award shows. Like, seeing certain, people win awards, always is touching. Seeing Leonardo DiCaprio win the Oscar, like seeing how the crowd went crazy when he finally won. Yes. But my all-time favorite, the one that gets me every single time, the one that makes me fall to my knees. I can watch this shit every month. I think I do watch every month. My source of inspiration, the ultimate video clip on YouTube of award acceptance speech, is when Susan Lucci, after 19 losses, she was nominated for an Emmy, she finally wins. And Shamar Moore announces it. Oprah is in the crowd, is in the back, clapping. When Susan Lucci finally wins Best Lead Actress in a Soap Opera Drama for playing Erica Kane in All My Children, the way that crowd lost it for her, the way that she's up there on that stage, listen, it just, it takes me. Like, if I ever win, I mean, I've won awards and I've had those type of moments, but I want that. I want that Susan Lucci. She couldn't even talk for a minute. It was so crazy in there. And you just don't understand. For those who grew up in the South or grew up with their grandmas watching stories, as y'all know, and watch those stories, put my stories on. For those who grew up watching stories with their grandmother or their auntie or their parents or whatever in the summers, and they watch soap operas, General Hospital, Sonny, and everybody thought Sonny looked good. Okay, he was a fine ass mob boss. If everybody remembers Sonny on General Hospital, all my children. Okay, One Life to Live. Okay, we was the ABC. Now, I know there was the other channel, and y'all used to watch As the Days Turns and The Young and the Restless and that. We was Team ABC. Okay, we was General Hospital, One Life to Live, All My Children. That was us. We was those people. Okay, because there's different cliques. Different people don't watch that. They watch the As the Days Turn and all that stuff, right? We were not those people. We were the ones who was the ABC soap opera watchers. But growing up, okay, my grandmother used to watch All My Children. Like, first of all, a lot of famous people got their start on All My Children, okay? Who know who Reggie is on All My Children? Michael B. Jordan was on All My Children. A lot of famous people got careers on All My Children soap operas. Don't let them play with the soap opera acting, okay? You can go somewhere with that. But Susan Lucci as Erica Kane is one of the all-time greatest soap opera roles. Iconic. So when she finally won, I was just like, that was a moment. But that being said, I just miss that when you take award shows and you kill them, you don't have them. You're taking away an opportunity for a new generation of people to get exposed to music. That was award shows when I was younger watching the Grammys. I remember even the BET Awards. I talk about this all the time. Watching these lifetime tributes. That's how I got exposed to like the icon, like able to see these people. Like I grew up listening to Luther Vandross and Janet Jackson and Michael Jackson and James Brown and Aretha Franklin and Patti LaBelle. Like I grew up listening to these people's music. And so watching these award shows and seeing them perform live, like Stevie Wonder, like still seeing like Stevie, like that was transformative. That was an intergenerational experience. Even the MTV Video Music Awards, we used to give out the Vanguard Awards. Like, I mean, they still have the VMAs. Now the VMAs is on CBS now. It's not even on MTV anymore. Like, MTV, oh my goodness. But like, those were the moments. And so to see Soul Train Awards go away and the BT Hip Hop Awards, which is a more newish show, it's sad. It's a little sad. I'm going to miss that. I'm going to miss that show. But we'll see. VMAs will be in September. I'll try to watch it. They don't hit like they used to. I just feel like a lot of these award shows, I'm so happy we're past the Taylor Swift era. Because Taylor Swift, I felt like the awards were getting rigged. Like she was winning everything. It was like, who cares, And she wasn't even performing. So that was just also another noise. Like, how you going to win an award? I digress. But we'll see who's going to win. Kendrick Lamar got some major nominations. Gaga got some major nominations. We'll see who's going to pull it out and win. They got the VMA nominations just came out. It's some interesting nominations. We'll see who's going to perform, who's going to show up. But it's a lot. But we'll see. TV, I didn't watch too much TV this week because I was on vacation. I did catch up on my Love and Hip Hop, which is continuing to be a great show. But what I did watch was the season premiere of Jocelyn's Cabaret. Yes, Jocelyn's Cabaret California has made its debut. Oh my goodness. Just when I think Jocelyn cannot get any more interesting, she finds a way to continue to stay relevant. And this is no different. This Jocelyn's Cabaret California, I'm excited. They got some new girls on the show. Welcome to Vegas, baby. That's still my banger. But she's promoting her new song, which is my little hit. It's called I Like the Way You Are. For those who like Telfar did a campaign promoting one of their bags, a dumpling denim bag. A certain Dr. Parks had that bag. She like her little dumpling bag. I'd be seeing her rock her little dumpling Telfar bag. That was a limited edition exclusive. They don't roll that no more, baby. You got an exclusive dumpling bag. I know she loved it too, but Jocelyn promoted that bag and the song, and it's become a hit now. It's been banging this summer. They've been playing it this summer, not this summer, in the spring. They was playing it this spring, and it's become like a consistent song and track. And so now she got a music video for it that she's been promoting. But I like the way you are. I like the way you. That's my list. A little cute little banger. So it's good. Also, in concluding, I'm wrapping up, I'm enjoying, this week, there's some, is there going to be some more announcements this week? We're going to see, but there might be some big announcements coming this week. Some more surprises, just a lot of good things are happening right now. I'm just so grateful. This Martha's Vineyard trip was just everything, y'all, just everything, just so good. But, I'm enjoying, catching up on some work, promoting this emerging media diversity convention, which is going to continue with some more news. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm just so grateful for you all's support and your ongoing encouragement. And this summer, this has been a very exciting summer. So much to get into and to do, and it's just been great. And as always, be well and be best. Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.